All right, everyone. Huge movie fanatic Nate stopping on by yet again, once again, joined by Will Powell from the UK to do a top 10 movie discussion on his end and a favorite movie discussion on my end, just to kind of all around very casual movie discussion, I guess, with not many rules. There's some rules, but not many. Welcome, Will.
Thanks for having me, Nate. It's nice to be back on the show, as always.
Yeah. We talked about doing a discussion here, and Will is like, "Oh, how about a top 10?" And I'm like, "Well, I just there's way too many movies for me to have a
Yeah.
top
Well,
10. So I'll just do a what favorites I can think of, and you can do a top 10."
you said that, and that started me thinking because I made my top 10, and then immediately I was thinking, oh, what about this and that? And I was felt guilty for leaving certain things off. So I've got some honorable mentions, and I could still name 300 more movies that I love. Um, so it is kind of hard to just qualify what would go in the top 10, really. But I've tried to kind of compromise the films that stick in my mind the most from childhood, maybe, or meant something to me, or and also cross that line of very critically good films as well, I think. So I'm trying to like find that sweet spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I figure that it sounds like you might possibly have a little list there of top 10 and possibly beyond. And the one thing that I was thinking, since I can't really do a top 10 of all-time movies, I could probably get a little bit of inspiration from movies possibly that you say as well. I actually,
Yeah.
while I was waiting for you to come back from the petrol station, I made a little bit of a list of things I could think of,
Okay.
I'd be happy to have you start off, and you obviously this can go back and forth. And you mentioned
Yeah.
something in chat about plugging anything you might want to plug. Feel free to
Oh
plug away.
yeah.
He forgot.
So if you guys could, if you're listening out there, if you could follow my music page on Spotify. So if you just put Will Powell in, I've got a handful of original material which I'm trying to grow like everyone else is, and that'd be amazing if you could give us a listen, give it a chance, and that would be fantastic. And maybe I might make some money out of it one day. So,
Yeah, what the hell? That'd be a bonus. Is there any kind of particular image they should be looking for when they're searching for you on there,
well,
like a little?
I do look a bit younger in it. I've got longer, kind of blondish hair, and I'm holding a bass guitar. So you should see me in the song "Sunshine on My Feet" and a few others, "Banquet," "Blink of an Eye," and "Banquet's" one that you helped me with on the video front. So check that out. And yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who might be listening who don't know, I actually edited Will Powell's music video for Banquet, so I've heard that song about a bazillion times. So, and I
Yeah.
even still like it.
Oh, thank you. It's funny how, yeah, I'm kind of like, I've got, what's the word, ear fatigued with a lot of my stuff now. So I try not to listen to them too much and forget about them, just so I don't kind of start to critique too much. And yeah, it always happens every time. So
Well, that's one of the downsides of being a musician, I guess, or at
I
least
guess
in your OCD case. Ha 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 ha.
that's true.
But there's he plugged his Spotify. If anyone wants to go check it out, feel free to do so. And
Yeah.
also watch the music video for whatchamacallit. What's it called?
Oh, you should know. Banquet. That's
Banquet.
on
Banquet.
YouTube. So also check out my YouTube channel, hit subscribe and all that.
Yeah, you can actually get a link to his YouTube channel. I recently subscribed to it, so just go to my whatever it's called, my tab of subscriptions, and you can
Hmm.
find that. Go watch the music video for Banquet that I edited, and he did everything else on. So
I'll just say this, just with you being from America, I've got Spotify for Artists, so I monitor where the listens are coming from around the world, and quite a few listeners in America now, which is cool. Um, so hopefully some more after this.
yeah, you might get five more after the five people that listen to this
Hey,
discussion.
you know what? If it gets the algorithms going, that's fine.
All right. Well, would you like to take a old gander at that old movie list and start the
Yeah,
movie conversation a going?
yeah. So I just wanted to start with this was really difficult to do, and if you speak to me in a month's time, it could have changed. So it's not that serious, really. It's just kind of the movies that crossed my mind the most. And honestly, I was quite torn about the ones I left off. So some honourable mentions. So these would be in my top 25 then. So I'll just quickly go through some ones that didn't quite make my top 10. But if I was in a different mood on another day, they could have quite easily have done. So I've picked E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Didn't quite make it, but still a film I've grown up with, and I love that film. Any quick thoughts on that movie?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't add it to one of my favorite movies because I have a big problem with child movies because they do that thing where they get so sad and then only to get happy again at the end. But
Mm,
I will say it's definitely a classic, and the music and the images of flying on the bike and stuff are beyond
yeah,
classic. And I'm a huge fan of early '80s. So I love the movie for the fact that it was made in the early '80s, and the John Williams music in the early '80s was absolutely amazing. So there's definitely a lot
yeah.
going for it, but it's a little too depressing to list it in one of my top favorite
Yeah, I
films.
mean, it's not a film I go back to all that often. I wouldn't put it on as a kind of breezy comfort food, like comfort like movie kind of film. I don't know if you have those. You just put on where you don't want to, overthink too much, or you don't want to be too emotionally involved. Which actually, a lot of the films on my top 10 are films like that. I don't go back to them that often because I find them a little hard to fully embrace if I'm not in the mood. If that makes sense. So um, yeah, moving on. Dallas Buyers Club, which is a more recent one. That's a Matthew McConaughey drama. Have you seen that?
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, that's a great one. Just a great character. It's got a great story, but just a great performance from him. And I always find it very entertaining to watch him. So I've also got Die Hard, which I'm sure if you'd have asked me a while ago, that would have been on my top 10. Just I don't know why it just didn't make the cut this time. Love watching it around Christmas. Just reminds me of good times. And I don't think it gets enough credit for how well written it is, actually, for an action film, how well structured and the setup at the beginning, everything seems to pay off in the end. It's a very well written film, I think. Um, yeah, have you got any thoughts on Die Hard?
Yeah, and interestingly enough, anyone who's listening, if they're interested, they can actually check out a movie review, a brief movie review a buddy and I did of Die Hard in the spring of 1989. It's a part of a
Oh,
video
really?
that, yeah, that's a part of a video that's my very first surviving, not only surviving, but very first recorded video recorded movie reviews ever, and that's on this channel. Maybe
Wow.
if I can remember, maybe I'll put it in. A link to it in the description, but
Yeah.
recorded with the Fisher Price video camera, and we briefly
Huh.
talk about Die Hard. And at the time, being 12 years old, I considered it at the end a little bit long and drawn out. But these days, I'm definitely much more appreciative of Die Hard.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 89. You recorded that 1989.
Yeah, I was 12.
Wow. Wow. I wasn't even in existence, which is weird. Um, but that's cool though, because so you 89. I don't think the sequel had even been out. So Die Hard was just that one film.
Yeah, probably relatively new on home video at that point, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
still fresh. I mean, at that time, do you remember? Was it considered a classic at that time? I suppose it was too early to be a classic, but was it? I
Two
imagine it was in the general consensus of people a popular film. I'm guessing.
too new to be a classic, but definitely a huge, popular title at that time. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Cool. So moving on, I've got Halloween, the original one, John Carpenter's. Just a great film. I think that's like anyone who was a filmmaker should watch that film, or certainly a low budget filmmaker. Just like it's like film class 101. It's like ground zero of how to make a film. I think, especially of that ilk, I'd say. Um, and I know you've talked about Halloween a lot on this channel. So anything quickly to add?
Yeah, Halloween was one of the first horror movies I saw when I was 11, going on 12, just getting into horror movies, and definitely had a profound impact on me as a kid. And honestly, I definitely hold it still in high regard. But it's so funny because when I was like 12 and I saw Halloween 2, I was much more into Halloween 2 at the
Mm,
time because it just had more like Michael Myers and this and
mm,
that. And Halloween 2 is a movie, one of the few movies that I absolutely worshipped as a kid, which I did a complete 180-degree turn as an adult on, and now I still enjoy it. What's interesting about Halloween 2 for me is it's got a lot of like memories associated with it. So I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of like that nostalgia that goes with it. But
yeah.
as an old person, I mean, Laurie Strode just being unconscious the whole
Mm.
movie, and so many things I dislike about it. But it's one of those
Well,
movies that got a huge just nostalgia. Halloween too.
oh yeah, me too. Actually, I actually saw Halloween 2 first, and it was just when I was getting into horror, and I saw it when I was about mm, it's quite late to the game, probably 17, something like that. And yeah, I saw it on Halloween night. Actually, it was playing on the BBC late at night, and it was just as I was starting to get into horror. So that holds a place for me. Yeah, certainly. Then I went and watched the original one, but yeah, I think Halloween 2 is good. I think it's sleazier than the first one, but it's just got that classic Carpenter look and feel, and that techno, slightly more electronic score. I just like it anyway. I know it's a flawed film, but even with that in mind, for a slasher sequel, I think it's pretty good. That's what I'd say. But uh, yeah, moving on. I've put the original Star Wars, also known as A New Hope. I mean, and I felt guilty for leaving that out, but it's just such a staple of childhood and film in general. Um, anything you want to quickly add to that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you and I did a Star
Oh,
Wars
well, we have.
original trilogy discussion, but one thing I can briefly say is, yeah, the original film, which is now regarded as Episode 4, is my favorite of all the Star Wars films.
Yeah, and that's a good shout. And if I just want to have fun, I usually put that one on. So yeah, always, and I remember having the toys from it when they did the re-release. So yeah, it definitely holds and it's got all the classic moments, and it's the most quotable in some ways. Yeah, and it's got the classic Luke look, and everyone looks young and a little bit 70s, which I like as well. So yeah, and then I got another honourable mention, Terminator 2, which I know would be on a lot of people's top 10 lists. I've got nothing bad to say against it. Just didn't quite make my top. Um, and we've spoke about Terminator before, so do you want me to just carry on?
Yeah, all I'll say about Terminator 2 is definitely a classic, and we saw it on opening day. So, nah,
Yeah,
nah, 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 nah.
yeah. Oh, I did get a chance to see it in the cinema eventually on a re-release. Um, the good old days when James Cameron, personally, I think was interesting, but we'll get more into that. I think. First Blood is another one, another favourite that just didn't quite make it. But I love a good chase film, and it's a great chase film, full of suspense, and I think it's got more to offer than people give it credit for. I think it just gets a little bit lumped in with the Rambo cliche of the macho muscle man with a machine gun. But I think that first film has definitely got more substance to it than people would think. Um, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I can't remember what just a few moments ago while you were talking, I actually added First Blood to my list as
Oh
well
wow.
for some reason that not necessarily top 10, but just favorite movies that I can think of. And
Mm,
I was like, yeah, the First Blood popped into my mind, and I absolutely love the early '80s feel to it. Jerry
yeah.
Goldsmith's score and the beautiful Canadian winter wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
Just for a funny side note, you might not like that I'm saying this, but I think it's kind of fun just for posterity and memory. Will and I months back tried to do a fan commentary on First Blood, and only to find out that we kept getting out of sync, only to realize that his video format in the UK over there is probably PAL, PAL, and it actually goes a little faster than NTSC here in the United
Yeah.
States, North America. So
Which made me rethink a lot of things. It kind of like blew me away a bit, and also like I never even considered that, which is strange. And I feel like it's such a nuanced thing. If you were over here and you put it on, I don't think you'd notice. It's just like a very strange thing to me, that is. And I think that's becoming a thing of the past now with streaming and stuff. I don't think that's such a thing, but yeah, it's very strange.
So that was kind of a frustrating afternoon.
It was a frustrating evening.
Yeah, so maybe someday we can talk about First Blood, or something like that. Or another thing I thought of is you could always play it, and you could watch it and take cues from it. And I mean, I pretty much have it memorized, so you could watch it, and I can just and take cues from what you see and stuff. But I pretty much have it memorized anyway. That's something we could do. But it was so frustrating and funny how we're like, what's going on?
Well, we tried everything. I mean, I tried it in a different DVD player. I tried, what else did we do? Well, multiple things we tried. Changing the speed on my TV, and
I'm sitting over here going, Will, he keeps hitting the fast forward button.
Yeah. Oh my God. We could. I mean, there's another way we could do. We could just both. I could watch a streamed version. I'm like 98% sure that would be the same speed you watch it. So I could just stream it.
There's definitely options, but yeah, First Blood is definitely up there among films that I hold in high regard.
Yeah. Quickly, would you say it's a bit underrated?
Oh, definitely. Like you say, I think the sequels kind of ruined the brilliance and simplicity of the first film, because everyone thinks of Rambo from the second film and the third film.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, really. And originally, he was going to die in the end, and there was a filmed version of that, which is, I think, it's on YouTube, and I think it went so poorly with test audiences they didn't like that dark ending that he lived, and then the franchise began. However, I do enjoy the sequels. I think I got a bit of a love for First Blood Part 2 because I grew up watching that, but I just think you have to just treat it as a completely different kind of Rambo, different universe. That's the way to look at it.
That's a perfect way to look at it. Like First Blood is more like the real world, realistic movie, and then the sequels are like just bubblegum, just cookie cutter action garbage. I mean, garbage to have fun with.
Yeah, I think it's well made garbage. That's what I'd call.
Yeah.
It's very competent, that second film, but you just have to kind of go with it, I think.
Yep.
Much better than Commando, in my opinion. I used to think pair them two together. I used to thought First Blood Part 2 was much better, personally. But
wow. Okay. So yeah, you made me Hey, I'm adding Commando. I spelt it wrong, but I'm adding.
Oh, is that going onto your list now?
Yeah, I forgot about Commando. Thank you.
Obviously, didn't make mine. Okay, next film I've picked is a comedy film. I haven't got many comedies, but and this certainly isn't one of the greatest films ever made, but it just holds a special place for me. I remember watching it as a kid with my mum and dad, and Stir Crazy with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. I don't know if you've seen it.
I might have it. I don't know if I've seen it yet. I think I've got like a $3 DVD I got years ago.
Yeah, I really like it, and it came out
trying to describe it.
Sorry?
As you were describing it, Nate was going kind of nutty, like, come on, just say it.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to name drop the title. I was like, what the hell is he going to say?
Okay. Yeah. So Stir Crazy, it's a prison comedy, and it came out in 1980. And I think that's a really good time for movies. It's kind of that limbo phase. It's not quite the 80s yet, not quite the 70s. So I like that. It's just a great laugh, and I really like it. So I Stir Crazy. Another film I've picked of that ilk is Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation. Again, not one of the greatest films ever made, but I really like it. So it's on my list, and as I've got older, I just like watching it because it takes me back to a more innocent time, I think, really. And it reminds me of going on those kind of holidays and everything seemed to go wrong, and there'd be a lot of fallouts, and just reminds me of those innocent times. Have you got
Well,
anything to add?
thank you, Will. I just added Vacation to
Yeah. Oh,
some
really?
of my favorite movies. That's an absolute growing up with movie. As
Yeah.
kids, we'd tape record ourselves saying the swear word scenes as little 9, 10, 11-year-olds. We were
Yeah.
kept doing the swearing
Yeah.
scenes over and over and into an audio recorder and had fun. And
Yeah.
as a kid, when I was all stressed out over homework or whatever else, I
Yeah.
used to fall asleep to movies, and
Yeah.
Vacation was a movie I used to fall asleep to often.
Yeah. It's a great film. I remember going on holidays and watching it before we'd go on holiday. It just got you in the mood. Even though everything went wrong in that film, it still seemed like a fun holiday, and it's got really nice scenery. It's a road movie. I like it. It's my favorite of the 4 vacation movies, or 5, how many there is now.
I don't even know how many, but agreed, it's
Yeah,
the best one. Yeah.
I agree. And I've got one complaint, and every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, I don't like the scene where the dog gets dragged. I mean, you don't see it, but I just thought it was slightly bad taste, but it doesn't ruin it. I don't know. Any thoughts on that? I don't know. I've got a thing. I just don't like to see animals in any harm.
Well,
But that's just personal preference. It doesn't ruin the film for me. But
that's very understandable.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, I get the gag of it. It's just it just seemed a little. I don't know. I'd have objected to that, but whatever. I don't mind the granny on top of the roof, though. That's absolutely fine.
Wow, dogs over human life, huh?
Oh, no, well, yeah, let's not get back into that episode. Anyway, that's just a personal preference thing. Anyway, so I'll move on. Another one is, I think, the only British film I've got on here, which is interesting. I do have another one which is kind of made by a British company, but it's not British, if that makes sense. So I've chose In the Name of the Father. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I haven't.
That's starring Daniel Day-Lewis and Pete Postlethwaite, and it's about the Guildford Four. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's based on a true story, and they were wrongly accused of working for the IRA and blowing up pubs in London in the 70s, and they go to prison for it. And it's just a really it's a hard film to watch. I don't watch it that often because it's quite upsetting, but just a great film. I don't know if you've heard of any of that stuff I told you, or
No, I don't really I didn't really used to keep up on current events back when those current events would have happened. But, I'm familiar with some of that stuff because of the 1994 movie, is it Blown Away with Tommy Lee Jones and I can't think of the other guy's name
oh
right
right,
now.
no, I haven't seen that actually.
Yeah, the guy from Tron, what the hell is his name? I can't think of his name right. Oh, Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, yeah. Yeah, is that Arlington Road or something?
What?
Arlington Road, is it? Is that the movie called? Oh,
Oh
no,
no,
that's
it's
a
called
different
Blown
Away, right?
Away.
Okay, right. I was getting mixed up with another film. Yeah, I mean, just some just captivating performance by Daniel Day-Lewis and Pete Postlethwaite, and Emma Thompson's in it as well. And it's just a really good drama, and I don't watch those type of films that often, but that one, that was the first film I saw, and I watched it young, and I was like, oh, films can go to a place that isn't always pleasant, and I could still kind of be, I wouldn't say entertained, but kind of captivated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd say it does.
Yeah. Another one is Black Christmas. Didn't quite make the top 10, but I love that just strictly for atmosphere. I know you've seen it. I think you've got mixed feelings on it, as I seem to remember.
Yeah, I did when I first saw it, but over the years, my criticisms have kind of eased off. The criticisms I have was it just kind of seems to be a directionless movie that never really goes anywhere. But I'll tell you what, it's dripping like Christmas holiday
Yeah,
atmosphere. So for that and just
yeah.
beautiful Canadian winter and
Well,
70s
you know what? I, that's what
Christmas
kind of things.
atmosphere and
Yeah, I don't know if it was intentional. It has got like a plodding kind of mundaneness to it about it, but I don't know if that was kind of. I don't know if you ever feel like that period, especially from like when you're settling down for Christmas, people are off work, and it's kind of just that strange limbo time. And I thought it captured that quite well.
Well, that's
Um,
actually a pretty good way to think about it. You know, think everything shuts down for that wonderful
yeah,
quote unquote holiday. So it's just
yeah,
kind of like a movie that takes place during that downtime.
yeah, and people are leaving. Some people are staying. People are going to see family, and people are visiting. People are drunk. People are sleepy. I just thought it captured that atmosphere. And there's a constant like sound effect outside. Great atmosphere. So yeah, and I like it a lot. So yeah, anything more to add on that?
No, pretty much. I pretty much agree with that. It's a very beautiful, especially on like the more recent Blu-rays. It's really got a beautiful 35 millimeter film look, colors, and the
Yeah.
colors and the contrast and the film grain. It's a really handsome
Mm.
looking movie.
And with it being horror, it doesn't sacrifice Christmas. It still seems Christmas. I want to stay in that house, you know, in a strange way.
Yeah, oh yeah, I do like that house as well.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, next one. I didn't quite make the list, but I think it is a thought-provoking movie, and the only one with Jim Carrey in it is The Truman Show. Have you seen The Truman Show?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen that years and years and years. I can't remember if I might have done a review a long time ago, but yeah, I've seen it and very thought-provoking. Yeah.
I like that film a lot. Yeah. Um, haven't got much more to say on it because I want to press on a bit with the actual top 10. Um, yeah, another honorable mention heavily, and this was one like, oh, this pains me to leave it off. I don't know why I left it off at this moment, but just didn't quite make my top 10. Is Alien, which we spoke about last time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to add it to my list here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
a movie that I saw, you know, at an age when maybe I was a little too just on the tipping point of starting to get old enough where I could start seeing this gory, scary stuff. Feel free to head over to our Will and I's discussion. I think it's 3 hours long about Alien. You can hear probably more of my history with it, but absolutely, it's a movie that's really, really great.
oh, absolutely. And you know, if anyone had it in the top 10 list or even their number one film of all time, I would have no arguments with that. Just the mood I'm in at the moment just didn't quite make. I mean, it's definitely my top 15, I'd say. So it's kind of silly, kind of ranking films in a way, but it's fun to think about it, making lists. I quite enjoy doing this kind of thing. But, yeah, and last honourable mention. Oh, I've got two more actually. Is a film that definitely doesn't deserve to be in the greatest films of all time. But I love it because I saw it as a kid, and I love Clint Eastwood, and it's Every Which Way But Loose.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen that. I think I've got a DVD with
Yeah,
how many of them? Are there just two of them?
yeah. Every which way but loose, and Any Which Way You Can. Yeah,
I think I've got a DVD with both of them on. So yeah, I remember that movie. I don't really remember much about it, but I
yeah.
remember the
It's
basic thing. Yeah.
I just like it's a time capsule of the late 70s and the kind of like honky tonk bars and filmed on real locations, and I just like it. It's kind of a nothing movie. There's not really much of a plot or anything. I just like the vibe, and yeah, I like the music in it, and yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those good. Was that the 70s?
yeah, late 78, I think.
Okay, yeah, the good old days when
Good old days.
yeah, okay.
It just has a spirit. Let's just make a fun film, and I like that, and I like to see that other side of Clint Eastwood as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. He, in my opinion, maybe too often did the serious thing. It was always
Yeah.
fun to see the other side of him. I
Mm.
want to say that one guy is in there as well. Well, who's the other guy who's in that?
Um, Jeffrey, I think he plays his brother or his best
Oh yeah,
friend,
Geoffrey Lewis or whatever.
Jeffrey Lewis. Yeah, Orville he plays, and obviously not forgetting Clyde the orangutan.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, but I like the Geoffrey or Jeffrey Lewis, the father of Juliette Lewis.
Yeah, correct. I think he died a couple of years ago, actually.
Well, gee, thanks for bringing the mood down.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, Clint's still going. I mean, that's incredible, really. Got to give him to that. I mean, I've always liked Clint Eastwood. Just I think he's a childhood hero, and I think I remember you saying you're not the biggest fan of him, but there's a few hits for you in his filmography.
Yeah. Feel free to head over to Will and I's discussion on Dirty Harry. That's one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah. I'm just gonna add that to my honorable mentions because that's gonna go in there. We've said everything we can on Dirty Harry. And last one, and this one was. I wish this would be at 11 then. All right, this was the one I was so conflicted about, but that would mean I'd have to take other ones out of my top 10. So in at number 11, can we do that?
No, not on this channel. Not on this channel.
I'm going with The Exorcist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
And I don't like to be pessimistic about people, but I think people can be so arrogant to watch it and go, it's not scary, and miss all the other great things in it. It's usually people under the age of 25, which is a bit harsh, but I think it holds up very well. It's very innovative. It's still shocking, and it's a great. Take all the horror out of it. I think it's a great acted film. I think it's a very well written film. And I'm just I like films where it's like a problem solving thing. We try this and then we try that and then we try. It's a bit like Alien in a way. It's that's a problem solving film, if you get what I mean. It's like the medical bit. Well, let's try and get it off him. Let's try this, and that didn't work, and it just escalates. And I like that. I'm not saying they're alike in any way, but there's just that kind of building of tension, I think. Anything to add on that?
Yeah, I can see why that would definitely be close to the 10 there on the old top 10. It wouldn't be on my favorite list of favorite movies because it's a little too dark and depressing for to be a favorite film, but definitely a movie that I hold in really high regard.
Yeah, absolutely. So officially in the top 10 now, which is very difficult. So I do apologize to all the other films that didn't make it. I still love you. Well, how do you want to do it? Should I say a film which is my top 10, and you say a film that you really like? Do you want to do it that way?
No, why don't we just keep doing like we were doing, and when you're done with your list, I can rattle off the things I thought of.
Okay, then. Yeah. Cool. All right. So in my number 10, and this is the most modern film, and in my opinion, this is a very divisive film. It's like people seem to love it or they don't like it. And yeah. And to me, it's the last great piece of cinema I've seen, and everything's just kind of gone to shit after this. So I've picked Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at my number 10.
Oh,
What's your
okay.
thoughts?
Very interesting. I don't think I ever really heard you talk about that before.
Yeah. I just think it's a really mature film, and it's just a film that just lets actors breathe. It doesn't have to, and it trusts the audience to sit with characters rather than treating everyone like we're dumb. I mean, we even have to have a trailer before a trailer, which you've mentioned before nowadays. It just felt like a really true piece of cinema to me. And have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I saw it. God, I think I may have only saw it once. I do have the Blu-ray, but I don't think I've watched the Blu-ray yet. But Beth and I went to see it in the theater when it came out, and I wasn't. Well, I've done a review about on it if anyone wants to check out my movie review on it. But I wasn't that blown away with it. But I can definitely agree with it takes place in the 70s, and it's got that laid back 70s vibe to it, like you say, where the
60s. Sorry,
scenes.
late 60s.
Oh, it takes place in the late 60s?
Yeah.
and the scenes just exist and let the actors breathe, like you said. So
Yeah,
it's really insane how they were able to, like, whatever they did, like recreate whole streets or roads or whatever of the late 60s era
yeah,
to film that stuff. It was like a
yeah.
time capsule.
It was, yeah, and I liked the kind of I don't want to get political with that, kind of the more, I feel like DiCaprio and Brad Pitt represented that old school Hollywood of like McQueen and maybe Robert Redford, and it was that just kind of had this very it had a what's the word, intriguing thing where it just kind of crossed that line of when the hippies were starting to come in and this new age of change, really. And I kind of thought that was what the film was about, really. And obviously, were you aware of the whole Charles Manson stuff and all that?
Well, I was familiar with the story before I saw the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, there's the twist at the end where it's this whole idea of once upon a time in Hollywood, this fairy tale alternative ending, and I found that really moving, actually, at the end. Did you see that coming, or?
No, I didn't see that coming at all.
Yeah, Sharon Tate lived in this, and I liked it because there was this thread of Leonardo DiCaprio thinking he wasn't relevant anymore, and I just kind of just saw a lot of layers to it that he was relevant. He unwittingly, him and Brad Pitt kind of saved the day, and I just kind of thought that was a nice touch, if that makes sense. I kind of sort of took it as we all kind of matter, if that makes sense. I don't know. And
That's a cool way to look at it.
I mean, yeah, and I just like the vibe of it. I love the music in it. I love all that kind of music. I love the history of it. And I just thought it was a character film more than anything. It was about characters, almost like a kind of a Woody Allenish kind of film. There's not that much happens. It's just kind of intriguing scenes, and I just loved it. And then I get why some people just didn't get it or it wasn't for them. I completely understand. It's but I thought it was a great piece of cinema, really. And yeah, so, and I often find myself thinking about it, and yeah, so that's the most recent film to make the list. Anything more you want to add on that?
Yeah, I can just remember the from the very beginning, the movie sets up the fact that it's not going to be one of these Michael Bay
Yeah.
quick moving films by just like I think the opening shot is something that is a really slow kind of a thing where it just the camera zooms out of from a mural or some kind of a wall or something, and then someone gets in the car and just drives off or whatever. But yeah, I can remember the way it started. Yeah, I should watch the Blu-ray that I have.
And it's one of those films. It's like at that maturity, it's one of those films. Like, am I enjoying this film? But I'm intrigued. I'm glued to it. Am I enjoying this? And it was just one of those films that it's like an album that grows on you or something. It just had something about it that I kept thinking about, and it's like that was a great film. It was just that was my experience with it anyway. So yeah, a bit like Black Christmas in a way. It just kind of exists and has the balls to do that.
That's a good point.
I like that. So right, okay, moving on then. Number 9 is the oldest. No, is it? Yeah, it's the oldest film on my list from 1957, and it's a World War II movie. It's Bridge on the River Kwai. I don't know if you've seen it.
I think I might have it. I never seen it. I think it might have been something my dad had or
Yeah.
something, or either that or I found it for $3. I don't think I've watched it yet.
Oh, I strongly recommend it. I think I know you don't like war movies all that much. You've told me, which is completely fine. Would you watch this one, you think?
I would if you paid me. Yes.
Oh, right. Well, it's got Alec Guinness in it and William Holden. It was a big Oscar winner at the time. Do you know what the film is about? Or
Is it about the bridge on the River Kwai?
oh, very good.
That was just a guess.
Yeah. Do you know anything other than that?
Not really.
Well, it's about a prison camp in one of these Japanese islands, and the island is basically a prison camp. And one man imagine, and basically they're the prisoners were forced to build this bridge that carries the opponent's weapons across. Okay, it's designed for that to get weapons across this river. And one of them escapes off this island, luckily, just by blind luck, and some of the native people help him escape. And then he gets back, and then he's asked to go back because he knows the way to this camp, you see, and he's reluctant. That's William Holden's character. He's reluctant to go back, obviously, but he knows the way back to the camp. And he said, well, will you send a team in there and blow it up? And it's like a fight through the jungle. And Alec Guinness's character is the colonel who's got his principles. He's at the camp saying, my men will not work, and blah blah blah. And it's a really great film, and it's like a battle of egos. And yeah, and Spielberg says he watches that film every time he's going to make a film because he says it's like perfectly structured. And yeah, anyone who's listening, I strongly recommend it. And just it's 1957, but it's in Technicolor, and oh my god, it holds. To say it's 1957 holds up very well, and it's got a pace about it that maybe influenced a lot of filmmakers, I think. And yeah, so yeah, I highly recommend it. Anything to add, Nate, on that? I mean, I know you haven't seen it, but
Yeah, I maybe I'll pop the old DVD in and see if it works.
yeah, see if it works. I mean, I say it's fast paced, but I've seen the British DVD, so maybe that's why. Anyway,
Yeah.
number 8 is Jurassic Park. Me, and I can't remember watching a film before. I can't remember not ever having this film in my life. I don't know when I first saw it. It's just I know it's scene for scene, and it's just Spielberg at the top of his game, in my opinion. I mean, everyone's seen Jurassic Park. I don't think the sequels are even worth mentioning compared to it. It's just in a complete different league to them. I think it's beautifully shot, and yeah, I think it just gets everything right, personally. Anything to add to that?
No, I've still got to see that one. Sounds great though.
It's that one about the dinosaurs.
Oh, it's that one. Oh, I thought it was that little playground park there next to the pizza
Yeah.
place. Okay, it's the dinosaur
That's
one.
Site B.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, it's actually 30 years old this year, and a seminal
Wow.
seminal summer blockbuster with thundering DTS sound, and the
Yeah.
music is so beyond classic. Don't even get me started.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, would it be up there for you, or is it not one of your favorites?
It's not going to be on my list, but it's a very, very great summer movie. And in my opinion, I was just thinking about this the other day because, you know, for me, it might be one of the last like truly great summer you know, movies. After
Absolutely.
I can't think of a summer blockbuster that came out like after 93 that then really can touch Jurassic
Mm.
Park. There's things, you know, summer blockbusters that have come out that I've liked since, like Mission
Yeah.
Impossible and stuff. But
Yeah.
for me, and just because of that, you know, I was 16 years old when it came out. It was just, yeah, probably the last truly amazing summer blockbuster movie
Mm.
that in my life, you know.
And to say it's 30 years old, it holds up very well, I think. I mean, it holds up better than a lot of the shit today. I'll tell you that. You know, it's superior. Spielberg knows how to light stuff. He knows how to work with what he's got. You know, so well, it's going to look a bit dodgy. CGI will hide it at night, and it'll be in the rain, and we'll know how to film it from certain angles. And he knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? Well, he did back then anyway. So
Yeah, right. You should. Yeah, you got to make sure you said he did back then anyway.
He's still a competent filmmaker. Who am I to criticize Spielberg? But I think, when he's on his A game, there's no one better in a lot of respects. Certainly in a blockbuster film like this. It just has you feel like you could reach in and touch the plants. The characters feel right there, and you can almost feel the warmth of the island. You know what I mean? They don't make films like that anymore.
Well, yeah, that was one of the reasons I regarded as such a great summer blockbuster movie. Is for me, I really love the summer blockbuster movies when in the movie itself it takes place in a warm,
Yeah,
tropical, and I just love the tropical storm and the rain and all that stuff.
yeah.
So for me, like unlike a film like, for example, that came out a year before during the summer blockbuster season, Batman Returns, that takes place in the winter.
Hmm.
I love seeing a summer blockbuster that takes place on a tropical island.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think Batman Returns is on my top list, but I've got respect for that film because kind of the polar opposite. It feels cold and great atmosphere in that film as well. Personally.
I hear you.
Yeah, I think it's yeah. Anyway, so moving on, Jurassic Park. I mean, what more can you say? It's certainly one of the greatest. It's got to be up there, surely. Even if it wasn't one of my favorites, I'd still regard it as one of the most impactful films ever made. Yeah, it's kind of like the beginning of the end, if that makes sense. It's kind of like the last. It's kind of like when we embraced technology, but we used it right. And it's kind of everything after then's kind of been. So yeah. Anything more to add?
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. It's like back when it was how it should be. Everything's practical, but they only use CG for the stuff they couldn't possibly do practical.
Mm. But even with that, they were smart enough to hide it in the right way or film it properly. So yeah, it's a fantastic film, and it works on a lot of levels. I think it's got a lot to say, but it doesn't shove it in your face like nowadays. It's so like everything has got to have a political message, but it's not subtle in any way anymore. Um, but it
Got
also
that
just
right.
works. It just works as a good popcorn movie, and it kind of is nothing more than a popcorn movie in a lot. When you look at it, it's just a great. It's Westworld basically, but done 100 times better in my opinion. But there you go. Yeah, moving on. Uh,
Sounds good to me.
right, so that was my number 8. Number 7. I think this is going to be one of your mentions. Number 7, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, 1974.
Oh yeah, that's on my list of favorite movies. That's for sure.
Fantastic. Yeah, this is just a very unique film, and I'm always a fan for things that were way ahead of their time, and I think this is, you just look at. I mean, I think I've mentioned before another favorite. No, it's not a favorite, but probably in my top. Okay, let's take top 100. The Tower and Inferno would be in there somewhere. It's made the same year, and it just feels so kind of 70s and dated in a good kind of way. But this Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just like, I don't know. It's just operating on a completely different plane of, just like something like the Tower of Inferno has got that 70s cheesy score. It all looks a bit like it's a bit too well lit, if that makes sense, too bright and colourful. This is just so visceral and disturbing, and yeah, it's a very unique experience, I think. Do you want to take over for a bit?
Yeah, I mean, definitely on my list already, and one of the first horror movies that I saw when I got over my, being squeamish and, from 11 going on 12 years old. One of the first horror movies I saw, and it just absolutely just blew my ass away. And still,
Mm.
all these years later, it holds up just as well. And I mean, there's not enough amazing things I can say about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The music that's not like your traditional kind of
Mm,
soundtrack. It's just sounds or whatever. It's so absolutely perfect for that movie.
yeah, it's kind of avant-garde music. You know, it's banging on pots and pans and maybe cymbals, and yeah, very different for the time. I had a book, 1000 great. I think it was something like 1000 movies you should see before you die. I used to read it in the bathroom and stuff, and it said John Lennon had. They used some of John Lennon's music because he made some experimental albums in the late 60s, early 70s. So it credited him as one of the music composers on it, which I thought was really weird. And I've looked in other sources and it doesn't say that. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I've never heard anything about that.
Yeah, but he did make some albums that were just experimental, crazy sounds. So interesting. But yeah, anyway, that's a side note. I love how, it just looks, the film has like this sweatiness about it. It just feels like you're in like you're in the van with him at the start. That's the sun beaming in, and it has such a realistic feel about it. It's a very unique film, and I think it's basically an art film, but but in the form of terror, and if you've ever had a nightmare where you woke up in the middle of the night, I don't know if, and you're deeply disturbed, I think this captures that feeling of a nightmare. Can you see what I'm saying on that one?
Oh, I definitely can. Yeah, it's also a movie, one of the movies that I think is just every time I either hear or see the word Texas on a
Yeah,
license plate or anything, it's
yeah.
just like I just think of the other words, Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, yeah, I think it's such a. I wonder what Texan like people that are like anti-horror movie. I bet they're really pissed that they live in Texas and they have to
Hmm.
have that movie be such a huge part of their state. It is a huge
Hmm.
part of their
Yeah,
state in regards of having the state in the title. But yeah,
yeah.
originally I'm sure it was originally going to be just called Leatherface.
No, I didn't know that actually.
Oh yeah, that I guess that was the title on the script, Leatherface.
Yeah, I didn't know it was originally called Leatherface.
Yep, from what I understand, that was the original
Hmm.
title. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is much better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and there was always this kind of. I remember there were certain films I heard of when I was a kid because I remember in the 90s we still had videotapes and we probably watched a lot of things that were 17 years old or whatever. And I remember kids at school talking about Pet Cemetery and like video nasties, and I just remember Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like based on a true story. It was kind of like, oh, that was like a real thing, wasn't it? That happened, and it's not really, but I mean, it's portrayed that way, but not really. Any thoughts on that? Kind of its association of being a true story.
Yeah, obviously, when I first saw it, there was this like aura, like, oh boy, when you were a kid, you believed that it was a true
Yeah,
story. But,
yeah,
when you get older, you come to realize it's just based on the purported true story of these other people, like Ed Gein and so
yeah,
on and so forth. But I guess as a kid, kind of disappointed that no one actually went around killing people with a chainsaw in Texas. But hopefully, the movie inspired some of the
yeah.
real stuff.
Wow.
More like an urban legend.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
leave it to Nate to want children to run around with hacksaws and kill their parents.
yeah. Well, lesson learned: don't trespass on people's property, because if they hadn't done that, they'd have been all right.
I don't know. They were kind of invited in,
You reckon?
if I
Oh
remember
well, he was the
correctly.
hitchhiker. Kind of wants them to
He
come out to
invited
dinner.
them to dinner.
Well, that's true. That is
Well, they
true.
didn't know they were going to be dinner.
Yeah, that's true. So I always wondered when they're at the what would you call it? The garage. What do you call it? Gas station.
Gas station, yeah.
Yeah. And he's serving barbecue. Is he serving human meat?
Yeah, I think we have to assume he's serving victims.
He was kind of setting him up for the fall.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a friend, Adam. We always quote this film, and especially the what do they call him? The grandpa? Is it no, not the grandpa. The guy who seems like he's the dad.
The oldest one is Grandpa.
Oh yeah, but he's talking about the cook. Yeah, the guy who looks like he's. Yeah, we always used to think he was the dad as well. He's just. I think he's. Can't remember. I think he's old man in the credits. Jim Sedow. Yeah, he seems to be calling the shots, but.
Yeah, we always quote him. You broke the damn door, you. No, things like that.
Look what your brother did to the door.
Now I have no trouble, young lady. You just take it nice and easy now. Well, I just won't have any part of this violence.
Your American accent's getting a lot better, Will.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah, I recognize that.
Well, can you do the Texas accent?
Texas? No, I don't think so. Not without coming off as a bit of a jackass. So.
All right, go ahead.
Hey,
That's
boy,
okay.
I'm from Texas now.
There you go.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Hey, you don't want to go messing around that house there.
That was perfect.
Oh. Thank you. Well, I'll tell you one thing,
as far as I'm concerned, Southerners were kind of slow anyway. So.
Yeah.
I'm from the South, so I can say that.
Do you think let's say the dad, let's just call him the dad, kind of tries to warn the group of teenagers, he said, nah, you don't want to go messing around that old house.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't want people snooping around because obviously they got a situation going there that they don't want people to. I don't think it's for that. I don't think he was really thinking about them as much as he just doesn't want the hassle of having to deal with people and kill them.
Yeah, maybe.
And too many people dying can cause, rousing the cops and just all that snooping. Once every few weeks is plenty.
Yeah. Are you a fan of this film, Beth?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I'm a newfound fan.
Oh wow.
I watched it as a kid and I was terrified.
Oh wow.
So I thought it was true.
Sorry, what was that last bit?
I thought it was a true story growing up.
Well, we spoke about that, didn't we, Nate?
I came in
kind of presented that way. It kind of is a true story, but not. It's kind of like, I mean, if you went down that road.
Watching it again with Nate, it kind of brought the comedy out, so I'm kind of a new fan.
Oh, it is. I think Toby Hooper said it was a black comedy, a twisted black comedy. That's what he said. I mean,
dark comedy.
Very dark comedy, yeah. I do find there is one bit which is very nightmarish, and kind of the bit where it's just a relentless chase through the woods, and it seems like it goes on for an hour, which is very nightmarish. That's when I
fall asleep.
Sorry?
That's probably when I fall asleep.
Really?
Trying to chase, was it Sally they're chasing?
Sally, yeah. Well, Beth gets tired easily. It's nothing against the movie. She'll fall asleep during anything,
but they over exaggerated that scene.
Well,
for her, I love it though. I like that because that's when it kind of becomes. It's almost like a Family Guy skin. It just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah.
But there's this one scene that always just creases me up, where Sally's running towards the camera and Leatherface comes in from the right. And he almost like runs too far to the left and he pulls himself back round. I don't know why. It just always has me in creases. Do you know which bit I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's very possible maybe he went too far and they kind of, maybe indicated with hand movements, get the hell back over the other way. Yeah. Who knows?
It's just very, and there's no music in that bit, which makes it even funnier. I don't know.
Maybe he's like, well, maybe she didn't go this far over. Maybe she went over this. I mean, it's kind of realistic.
Absolutely, yeah. And
looking at Nate's list of movies, it's quite vast.
Yeah, I mean, what about the atmosphere of the film? Because it's just got a very unique, macabre atmosphere, and
Yeah,
I do like the darkness of it.
like I say, it just drips 70s and it drips Texas and
yeah,
Drips a lot of blood.
drips a lot of blood that's not seen on camera, but people would
yeah,
swear there's a lot more in it than actually is. So
yeah. I mean, it feels like kind of film you go around to relatives and they'd go, "Oh, let's get the old cine films out," and they project it on the wall. It feels like you're watching a film like that. Do you know? That's the kind of
That's a
feeling I
family
get.
film. Welcome to Texas.
Yeah, yeah. So, have you guys been to Texas?
no.
Not to my recollection.
So
Right.
Beth's not sure if she's been to Texas, but I know I haven't. Back in 2001, me and Keith, I don't know if you've seen any of the videos or heard any of the audio with Keith on this channel,
Yeah, I
but
have. Yeah.
he and I were really serious about going to Texas in 2001 to check out some of the filming locations, but we were too lazy.
Oh, okay. There's your sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Two buddies who thought about it, but nah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Safer.
Yeah. I'll tell
No,
you,
we'd
there's.
rather
Go
we'd
on,
rather
sorry.
stay safe up north.
Yeah. Where I used to come from, Nottinghamshire, which was close to Lincolnshire. So we have counties instead of states, and obviously a lot smaller. But Lincolnshire is very flat, and I know you wouldn't think it, but a lot of the roads we traveled down on there are just like, it seems like endless roads with fields, and it felt very like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, some of that area. You wouldn't think it in England, but at the height of summer, it really resembled it. It would be like you pass like old farms and derelict.
Anything flat and dry.
Yeah, very dry, and yeah, it always reminded me of it. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I like to bike on bike trails during the summer, and there's always one spot when I get further out in the country that always reminds me of Texas Chainsaw, and it's got
Yeah.
like old farms and silos and stuff.
Yeah.
If you go far enough out, there's a little Texas Chainsaw Massacre everywhere.
That's right. There's a little bit of Leatherface in all of us.
I love it.
I'll just end on, I think, like, it's kind of like the birth of modern horror when Leatherface slams that door. He kills that first guy. I think what's his name? The guy in the blue shirt.
Yeah, Kirk.
Leave him to know Kirk.
And he slams that door, and I think it's the first bit of music you hear, really, and it's just that this disturbing tone. I was like, oh my god, that's chilling.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Beth. Beth's looking at my list. Don't mention it.
I'm not
I'm
saying
going to
anything.
mention my list at the proper time.
Okay.
She's having fun reading my list too, baby.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. Right. Moving on. Number 6 is a movie called Midnight Express for me. Have you guys seen that?
Midnight Express.
No, that's something I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, that's a great film, and based on a true story, kind of loosely based on a true story about an American guy played by Brad Davis, who was in, what else was he in? I can't think. Well, it's got Brad Davis and it's got John Hurt. It's got Randy Quaid in it. And it's about a guy who tries to smuggle marijuana out of Turkey. He's on there with he's gone on a trip there with his girlfriend, and he gets thrown in a Turkish prison. And he's there for, yeah, they make an example of him for like 10 years because it's really and it just shows you this horrible prison, and it's like, I know I'm not selling it, although it doesn't sound like a nice film, but it's just so visceral, and it's such a disturbing film, but honestly it's a fantastic film. And he gets thrown down with all the like criminally insane in the end because he kind of loses a bit, and they just spend their day walking around in a circle, and that's all they do just to keep him calm. And he eventually escapes, but it's such a visceral experience, and yeah, 1979, and it holds up really well. So I don't know if you like prison movies all that much.
No, not really.
Okay.
He doesn't like dark, dank places. I mean, he could barely get through the Saw movies because they're very dark and.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan. I mean, I don't like The Matrix for that reason. It's got a horrible, nasty green tint to it.
Hey, leave my Matrix alone.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
Well, it's been fun, Will. See ya. Click.
Mostly for Keanu. Everything else can.
Yeah. But I highly recommend. I think it won loads of Oscars at the time, and it's a really great drama.
Midnight Express, not Matrix.
No, yeah. Well, I think did Matrix win Oscars? Probably did for sound and visuals and stuff. I think.
I don't keep track. I don't keep up on Oscars.
No, I mean, I just sometimes throw that in just to kind of give it a bit of gravitas. You know. Fantastic film. I strongly recommend. I think it's on Netflix. Do you have Netflix?
Yeah.
I think it's on there, but you know, it might not be
too dark.
Yeah, you don't have to. It might not be your cup of tea, which is absolutely fine. And it's a rare case. I'll just finish off with this. The director changed the ending because what happened in real life was a much more elaborate chase and escape at the end in the real life, and it was quite an exciting event. But he changed it just to a very subtle ending because he thought that would ruin the rest of the film. To just turn it, which is very weird because it's usually the other way around. You know, fiction expands on the truth, but this was the other way around. It's like, no, we don't need this. So I thought that was cool. So yeah, different. Right, number 5. I don't know if you've seen this. It's another Midnight Cowboy with John Voight. John Voight and Dustin Hoffman.
Haven't seen that either.
Have you seen that, Beth?
It doesn't ring a bell.
Oh, I feel bad because you haven't seen these now. I'm going to ramble. I'll just go through it quickly.
That's fine.
It's about John Voight, who's I think he's from Texas, and he's got like this dream of moving to New York and becoming like a male prostitute who women are going to want to sleep with. He's just got this idea, this arrogance. And
I'm looking up the movie on my show and on my phone, and he's kind of hot.
Oh, back then, John Voight. There you go.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, but there's a great.
I might have to watch that one alone.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a great scene. Sorry.
I was telling Beth he's trying to tell us about the movie, Beth.
Oh, sorry.
All right.
I was caught up on the cowboy.
Right. There's a great scene where he realizes this is not. He goes to the city and he does pull this woman, an older woman, and they have sex in this hotel room. And he's like, "Are you?" Now he's like, "Now can we talk about the money? How much you owe me?" And she's deeply offended, like, "How dare you?" You know. And he's just expecting women to pay him for money. And he gets kind of a pimp who's played by Dustin Hoffman, who's a crippled guy called Rizzo, who kind of takes him under his wing. And John Voight, he becomes ill, Dustin Hoffman, and John Voight like has to go and sell himself on the street to men down back street. I know. In dodgy cinemas, and it's just honestly, it's such a good drama, and it's heartbreaking as well. And it's just, I think it's one of those films that just shows you sometimes things just don't work out. You know, you've got these big dreams of going to New York, and yeah, it's a depressing film, but it just moves me so much, and I recommend it. Anything to add to that, you two?
No, because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I haven't seen it, but I'm putting it on my phone list, and I'll look for it.
Do you like dramas?
I like a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Right,
if
moving on.
If it's a movie, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit like that. I mean, I think my go-to is a bit like Nate. I like suspenseful horrors, but I do like all kinds of movies, I think. Number 4 is a Western, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, we know that one.
Well, Beth, I haven't seen it with Beth. I don't know if I've seen it or not. I may have.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking Dirty Harry. I'm sorry.
Oh, right, yeah. Same person.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is the Western.
Hey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen bits and pieces of that movie, and from what I've seen, it's is that Clint Eastwood? Clint Eastwood?
Yeah, Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, and I can't remember the other guy. Because
I've only seen bits and pieces of it, but what I've seen, I liked.
Yeah, I mean, Clint Eastwood plays the good, Lee Van Cleef plays the bad, and the other guy, I can't remember, plays the ugly. But just to grab, I mean, it's Quentin Tarantino said it's his favorite film, and if you watch,
that says a lot.
Yeah, if you watch it, it's structured like a Tarantino movie. It's a great film, and I love all the scenery, the western, the big widescreen stuff. It's such a good story. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few westerns I can get on with. There's a handful, but some of them I find are a bit too much like dad movies. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're just a bit John Wayne. I'm not a big fan of John Wayne. It's he's iconic, but I like some of the Clint Eastwood stuff. And do you guys like any westerns?
I'm not the biggest Western fan. My favorite's probably The Wild Bunch.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
Oh,
I know. Is that who's in the William Holden? Is it?
I think so. And Ernest Borgnine and whoever else.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
Ben Johnson.
yeah. Yeah, I grew up on some westerns. It was kind of just like more of my dad's thing, but there's a handful I've grown to really like that have great stories and would kind of work. Doesn't have to necessarily be a western. Obviously, the western aesthetic adds a lot, but that story in Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is great, even if it wasn't a western. If you get what I mean. So I think that's what draws me to it. So.
Well, I was kind of stuck watching what my mom watched, so the only closest thing I got to a western was Ponderosa. What is that movie?
Oh, right.
That show?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
The Ponderosa is where they lived. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
While she's looking it up, you can continue.
Well, let's not forget the best western ever made, which is Back to the Future Part 3, of course.
Oh yeah.
That was a joke. I don't mind that film. You know, controversially, just getting off topic a little bit, I used to think Back to the Future trilogy was flawless. I still love the first one. I like the third one. I think it's kind of mediocre, but I think it's entertaining. The second one, as I've got older, I really don't like. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with the movies, but it sounds like Beth thought of or figured out the title.
Yeah, Bonanza.
Oh, Bonanza. Right, okay. That was the TV show.
Yeah, that's about as closest to a western I got growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the Back to the Future movies. I guess I guess if one were to overanalyze stuff, you could pick apart all kinds of stuff. But yeah. You know.
No, I think the first one is a great movie. I just think the second one's a mess, personally.
Yeah.
I think they were trying too hard. I think the first one was such a big hit that when they tried to expand on it, it got sloppy.
Well, can you remember the second one well, Beth?
We did watch the trilogy in the theater before that theater closed down. But isn't the second one where he's got to save his kid or something?
Yeah, I mean,
that's the third one.
That's the first one. And from the get-go, the first 5 minutes, I lose interest in that film a bit because it makes no sense that he would go in the future to sort out his son's problems. Because if he did that and then it came back to the past, everything would still gravitate towards that problem still.
Exactly.
It makes no sense.
Exactly. Because you have to change the present to fix the future.
It makes no sense.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, they were trying too hard. It was entertaining.
Oh, it's an entertaining film. I just think it's a mess.
Is the first one, he has to go back in time to make sure he exists and his mom falls in love with him?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one, he's got to fix his kid's problem. And God help me, I can't remember the third one to save my life.
Well, the third one's the Western one.
The Western one. Oh, that's right, where they had the steam train to jump time.
Yeah, I kind of like that one. I don't think it's...
That was fun.
Yeah, I don't think
that
it's
one
great,
made more sense than the second one.
Yeah, there's some good ideas in the second one, but it's just what's the word I'm looking for? It's just convoluted. It just feels a mess. It just feels, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was thrown together.
Yeah, something genuine about the first one. It's a tight little comedy. It's a good little well-written film, and then I was just like, you didn't need to make a sequel.
No, they could have just left it alone.
Well, that doesn't happen, does it?
No.
Okay, so number 4 was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. My number 3, and I think I've heard, Beth, you're not a big fan of this film.
Uh-oh.
It is The Terminator.
I never said I wasn't a big fan of the Terminator. It's just if you live with Nate long enough, you kind of get rid of Schwarzenegger kind of becomes part of the daily routine.
Right.
No, I did like I didn't like the second Terminator because it doesn't make sense. Like how
interesting.
How do you go back and or ahead in time and then
no, you think the first one doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
which I would imagine you and I touched on it when we talked about
come back.
How does just the way that the mom gets impregnated from the guy from the future might not really be something that's possible, but anyway.
Yeah,
I like that, but that's addressed in the film though. It's like, if that makes sense. Well, at the end, she says a person could go mad trying to think about all this. I think they know it's kind of...
That's their way of saying, that's their way of saying,
It's a mind warp, but I like that. It's like a time paradox. And I just like that. It's like a circle of... And I kind of like the idea that John Connor couldn't exist without Skynet. It's like the good and the bad can't exist without each other. And I like that.
Okay.
I just kind of thought that was clever.
You've just convinced Beth.
I'll have to watch it again before I'm fully convinced.
Yeah.
Like that's going to hurt Nate's feelings.
Okay.
Oh no, he's got to watch The Terminator.
Yeah. Well, I like Arnie as the bad guy as well. I think he's, and I've got memories of watching. We've spoke about this film before, haven't we, Nate? I think we made a video with Matt, I think, and I've lost my train of thought now. I'm a big fan of chase movies and people on the run and hiding out in motels. I just love all that. I don't know why. I always find that exciting. I don't know if it's reminds me of hide and seek and that excitement as a kid. I don't know.
I can see that.
Yeah,
you were probably an outlaw in a past life.
I think it's a fantasy of mine to be on the run from the police. I don't want to, provoke that.
Careful.
I don't think you could do it these days. I think you could do it 50 years ago when we just worked in cash, but I don't think we could do it now.
That's true.
I think I'd be too traceable. I remember seeing this as a kid and watching it with a babysitter. I wasn't really supposed to, but I kind of just dipping in and out, and I was intrigued with the plot. And I think I was only 9. I think I saw it a little bit too young, but I don't know. It just stuck with me. And I've seen it one too many times, so I don't return to it that much anymore. Because the last time I watched it, I got a little bit fed up with it. Because just because I knew it beat for beat, But I have to still put it in this place because it's kind of my introduction, a bit like Alien, to horror. Really got me into. And would you say this film's a horror film?
Terminator?
Yeah,
I
think
horror action, horror action.
Yeah.
Beth knows to agree with me, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, but that doesn't make sense. Even if Nate isn't right all the time, he's actually kind of right this time.
Oh yeah. Also, it feels like John Carpenter kind of film with the techno score, and it's rough around the edges, and it's.
I do like the music.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Terminator, and I do like the second one as well, and that was on my honorable mentions. That'd probably still be in my top 50 films. The second one. I don't know. There's just something a bit more primal about this one, and it just seems a bit more relentless. Something about it. So
we're still talking about Terminator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything more to add from you two?
Beth, do you want to? Beth's got to be away in like 15 minutes. Is that correct?
Okay.
Don't you have something? Wait, is this Monday? Oh, it's Monday. Never
Monday.
mind. I think we've said our piece on Terminator, and if anyone hadn't got enough of it from this talk, feel free to head over to our Terminator discussion.
Yeah. Oh, I just had one thing as a kid. I remember being deeply upset when Michael Biehn died at the end.
Oh yeah, I think I might have felt the same thing too.
Yeah, a bit of a childhood hero, Michael Biehn.
Yeah,
but very underrated, I think.
I don't remember the movie well enough to be emotionally attached. I apologize.
Okay.
Accepted.
Right, number 2, and this is one we've spoke about before, Nate. Do you want to take a guess what it is?
I have no idea.
Oh, really?
Really?
It's a Star Wars movie.
Oh, okay. Empire Strikes Back.
It's the Empire Strikes Back for me, and I know this is
really good.
This is your least favorite of the 3, isn't it?
Of the originals, yeah.
Yeah. I know. How dare you?
The third one of the original.
Second.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I think probably when I was a kid, I always remember we lent this movie. We had the trilogy on the VHS, and we lent Empire Strikes Back to one of my brother's friends. So I didn't see it for years.
Oh,
I saw New Hope and Return of the Jedi. So I think, I don't know. I don't know if I just found an appreciation for it later on. And personally, I think it's the best written out of them. And I have spoke a lot about this film with Nate already. So don't think of it, but I just love it. And I think it's got everything in it, personally.
Now, is that the one where Vader says, "Luke, I am your father"?
It is.
I
hope people have seen. I hope people have seen this film, because you may have just ruined it.
You just ruined it, Beth.
Spoiler: this movie is how old? And I still haven't seen it.
Yeah. Have you not seen it?
I've seen it.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, I see what you mean. All right. See, yeah. You were playing on my joke, right? Okay.
I was. If people don't know that Vader's Luke's father by now, they'll never know.
That's right.
Well, if they didn't know, now they do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I find this film very. I think it gets lumped in with all the others a bit, and I just think it deserves just a bit of extra credit for how amazing the sets are and how ahead of innovative it was. I think especially at Cloud City at the end.
Yeah,
it's beautifully lit.
I'm thinking about the backgrounds and the different planets and the way they had everything cut and crisp, and you knew where you were. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, it's not like modern films where it's like just
they jump back and forth too much.
Jump back and forth and nothing makes sense. It was like, oh, I thought that character died, and now we're in this bit of the complex, and it's just they utilize the small space well, and it's more about the drama and the tension. And I just think, I'm being honest, this might rub people the wrong way, but I think films today treat us like we're all morons. I really do think
you hit the nail on the head.
And like we can't, everything has to be in the first 5 minutes. We need an action scene, and it's and we can't let things build and just enjoy characters and
right.
Yeah,
it has to be wham bam. Like it rushes through the movie, and there's no build up. There's no character development. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's why I liked. I do like Empire Strikes Back. It's like I could say that's actually one of my favorite movies growing up as well.
Yeah. Oh, there you go, Nate.
There I go.
2-1.
Okay.
I always wanted the baby Wookiee. They're so cute.
A baby Wookiee.
I want a baby Wookiee.
Is she thinking of Ewoks?
Yeah, Ewoks.
That's
All right.
Return
Well,
of
that's the wrong
Jedi.
film.
Here, they're still baby Wookiees.
Are we pro Ewok or anti Ewok on this
I'm
channel?
pro Ewok.
Oh, me too. Nate,
I
where do you
love
stand on the
Ewoks.
Ewoks?
I always thought they were baby Wookiees. I never understood what they were.
I'm fine with the Ewoks.
I don't know why people are getting an uproar about them. I mean, we had Jawas in the first one and strange creatures.
Jawas were scary. Ugh.
Yeah.
What's a Jawa, Beth?
Jawas are the little cloaked things with the little eyes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Houdini! Houdini!
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Now you're scaring Beth.
Should we do a drum roll for number 1, or are we done talking about this one? Or
He's our guest. He can talk about it for as long as he wants.
Nate, do you have anything more to add to The Empire Strikes Back? I know you hate it.
Well, wait a second. I don't know if I've ever said I hate it.
I know.
But...
I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I'll just point people towards our discussion of the original 3 Star Wars films discussion to hear what my thoughts on Empire.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he feels like Empire like I feel about Terminator. It's not horrible, but it's not his favorite.
No, that's fair. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yay.
Right, my number 1 film of all time.
That was my drum roll.
Do you want to take a guess?
Jaws?
Correct.
Ah!
Wow. It's got to be. I was torn between Empire and Jaws, and I think Jaws just just
clinched it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I haven't got. We've spoke at nauseam about this as well, Nate. So, yeah, it's funny. It's my favorite film, and it's the least I've got to talk about because I feel like everything's been said.
That says a lot. I mean, Jaws kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
You know, just say Jaws, and people, if they're from this planet, knows what it is.
Absolutely. It's the film that got the ball rolling. That's what I'll say.
It really is.
And
well, I'll say, remember how I commented on Jurassic Park having the perfect environment and atmosphere, being on a tropical island? Like Jaws was the exact same thing. It took place on the water and beaches and stuff. What a perfect summer blockbuster movie.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
A lot of people were scared to go on the beach after that.
Absolutely. I think they still are.
I think they need to be.
Absolutely. We don't belong in the sea.
No.
All I'll say is Quentin Tarantino was asked, what do you think is a perfect movie? And he said, there's not many perfect movies out there. And he was thinking, he went, Jaws is a perfect movie. So there you go.
Ooh.
Wow.
Heard it from the horse's mouth.
That's a good quencher right there.
Yeah. And I don't like sometimes the implication to get Jaws isn't scary. I'm like, really? Have you seen the bit with the kid on the lilo?
Exactly.
Where the blood. I mean, how often do you see that in a movie?
What year did Jaws come out again?
75.
Because you do have to take the era into consideration. I think people are so used to CG.
People don't, though. Young people don't.
Yeah.
No, but
what they did with Jaws for the time was amazing.
Even for its time, I think it holds up very well. There's a few little scenes at the end where you see maybe just a little bit too much of the shark, a bit rubbery, but that doesn't, but for the most part, I think seeing it from the shark's perspective is terrifying. And just how it swims, around people's legs. And to be honest, one of my biggest fears is just not necessarily being eaten by a shark, but just the ocean itself, and looking down into the ocean and just seeing this miles of sea below me, and it's just,
I couldn't do it.
It freaks me out.
I need a floaty at the beach. What are you talking about? I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jaws is awesome, and it's like 3 of the greatest characters for me. Roy Scheider.
That's for the captain at the end.
Oh yeah, Quint, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss is super.
I kind of cried at that part.
Oh yeah, I think I may have suggested this before. Seeing that this is your favorite movie, I'm surprised you've never done. Well, maybe you have, but I don't know if you've ever put one on YouTube, a cover of like some of the sea shanties, like
Oh yeah,
farewell and adieu.
Yeah. Well, that
to
I
you
think
fair Spanish lady.
I think that I've told you that was like a common in joke with me and my dad. If we were ever going to do anything a little bit curious, like my dad's got to go on the roof to fix anything, and it'd always be farewell and they do. It was always like this constant in joke. So it holds, and I think I saw it as a kid, and it just reminds me of the summer, Saturday night, Coca-Cola in my hand, no worries about homework, that summery vibe, and it just holds such a special place in my heart. I love it.
It kind of makes me warm just thinking about it, because it's that summer, that perfect 90-degree summer day.
Yeah. I think there was one scene I forgot to
90
mention.
90 degrees is too hot.
The scene where Roy Scheider's at the dinner table with his kid making faces, a very beautiful scene as well.
Very family.
Yeah, it is.
Real.
It's quintessential Spielberg, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think it's the best film he's ever done.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Beth agrees.
Cool.
Well, that and E.T., but I think I like Jaws more than I like E.T.
I think they're his two best, yeah.
I think that's what people remember him for.
Well, I think a film reviewer called Mark Kermode, I don't know if you've heard of him, he's from the UK, and he said Spielberg's at his best when he makes popcorn movies. And I think he's right. And E.T. and Jaws are kind of, when you look at them, summer popcorn movies. When he makes Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List, they are great films, but I just think he excels in this kind of thing. There's a lot of substance to it, as well as
when you can have artistic, right? Like Schindler's List and Private Ryan were kind of history based, so he was stuck to a timeline. Whereas with Jaws and E.T., he could go outside the box and really expand his thoughts.
Yeah, something a bit more personal in them, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rather than this kind of, right, I have to be a filmmaker now and tell this story. There's a bit more of a Spielbergianness about it, if that makes sense.
I think we're on the same page.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Nate?
I'll just point people to our discussion that we did. That's probably, I think, 2 hours long if they want to hear any more of what I think of Jaws.
Wow. How many commercials does this have here?
A lot.
Yeah.
So
no, it's Jaws the Revenge didn't make my list.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't they just have a new Jaws movie come out?
No.
Oh.
Not since '87.
I'm thinking that
Megalodon
movie. It's kind of a ripoff of Jaws.
I liked Megalodon. I was impressed by that.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, I mean, obviously it's 2018, it's, CG, but I thought it was pretty good, and I'm pretty picky, so.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd recommend it if you can see it for free.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's the prehistoric
yeah. The giant
animal
shark, yeah.
Yeah, shark. I couldn't think of the word shark. But
yeah. But it's just kind of like, I think Spielberg's almost like conquered film in a way, because you can't have a shark film without thinking of Jaws. It's just like, it's not going to be as good as Jaws. You can't have a dinosaur film that's going to be as good as Jurassic Park. And you can't have a friendly alien film which is as good as E.T. So.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You kind of set the bar pretty high.
Yeah. So, yeah. Right. Nate, should we talk about your favorite films?
Well, why don't we? What maybe
he's got more than 10 on his list. I mean, I can't count, but that's more than 10.
would Beth like to share some of her?
The only movies that I can really think of growing up that really strike my heart is Labyrinth, and I've spoken about that several times in some of the Nate and Beth shows.
Have you seen Labyrinth?
Is that
Will?
David Bowie?
Yes.
Do you know what? I've never seen it.
Well, if you have a couple hours, I'd say
Yeah.
watch it. It's David Bowie wrote all the music. He sang all the songs.
Yeah.
He actually did the baby's voice too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've gotten captured by it.
Okay.
My sister had her Sweet 16 slumber party, and that was the movie that she chose. And I'm here, 14 years old, kind of sneaking in and out of my big sister's party. And I heard David Bowie sing Dance Magic Dance, and I was hooked.
Nice.
So
when you watch it now, does you feel like a kid again in a way?
I do actually, and I shared it with my kids, and now it's melancholy. It's happy, it's upbeat, but it's also kind of sad because my kids. That's another story.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But
Well,
no, I love it. It brings me back to being 12 again, 14. You know,
you've hit a nerve with me, like subconsciously. Like, why is Empire Strikes Back and Jaws my top two? Is because, and I've just realized it's because when I watch it, I feel like a kid again, and I think that's what it is. It's just that personal. I think that's what it
brings
is.
you back to lesser responsibilities. Like homework was the hardest thing you had to do.
Yeah, that was the worry of your life.
Yeah.
I think. That's. Anything else?
Not really that comes to mind, but my favorite scary movies are like, I don't know. Nate's rolling his eyes already. You already know who my favorite person is.
I'm just sitting here. I don't know what your
Who's
favorite person. Oh,
Mhm.
Freddy?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
See, we have the Freddy versus Jason relationship.
Oh, really? I'm guessing Nate is Jason.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Jason's got a place in my heart, but sorry, Freddy's the man of my dreams.
Oh, really?
That was the first horror movie I actually saw. Was
the
Nightmare
first
on Elm
one?
Street. Mm-hmm.
The original one. Is that your favorite of the bunch?
Oh no, actually, I think Dream Warriors is actually my favorite.
Yeah, a lot of people say Dream Warriors. Yeah.
It had a lot more imagination in it.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with
the
the original one as my favorite, but I think Dream Warriors is good.
They all blend together in my mind, but I'd have to say the Dream Warriors was the best. Isn't that when he like made the little puppet and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I liked how they put a lot of imagination into that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really it. I mean, I have 1,000 movies that I love, but those really strike my heart.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that then. So Labyrinth and Nightmare on Elm Street. I think they're pretty
It's pretty diverse
movies.
for a girl. Come on now.
Oh well, I wasn't going to say that in today's climate, but I thought you was going to pick Four Weddings and a Funeral or Bridesmaids.
Oh no, I've never watched them. Oh goodness, don't scare me like that.
Chick flicks.
Oh, I do not do chick flicks.
Oh well, you know what? I think guys like chick flicks more than men.
Okay,
more than women. Sorry.
No, actually, I had a boyfriend at the time before Nate, and he insisted that we go watch the movie Sex in the City. Ooh. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And he's military and he's big and strong, and he wants to watch Sex in the City movie. I fell asleep. I couldn't do it.
Oh,
of course, I fall asleep during a lot of movies.
Dreadful.
No, give me guts and gore and Blade. Oh,
I like some rom-coms. I like When Harry Met Sally and stuff like that. I do like some.
Yeah. Romancing the Stone kind of comes to mind too.
Yeah.
80s rom-com.
More of a adventure with a little bit of romance, I guess. Or.
But no, I'm not a chick flick person. Throw me a monster, give me some blood, and I'm happy.
Absolutely. I think I like.
How hard was it to find a boyfriend that followed through with that?
Absolutely. So Nate, do you want to talk about your favorite movies?
Okay.
I'd be hilarious if yours was just a carbon copy of mine. Like,
nah.
There's a few in there.
Probably stuff that maybe you're not familiar with. In no particular order, I've got a list here on the top. A movie called Saturn III, which I think is viewable on Tubi for free, tubitv.com. Have you seen Saturn III?
No.
That's a sci-fi movie from like the early 80s with Farrah Fawcett, Kirk Douglas, Harvey Keitel. They build a robot and it goes amok.
Oh, I have seen watching it with him. Clips of that, yeah. Because I thought it was weird seeing Kirk Douglas in a movie at that point, because he was like ancient at that point.
He was old.
He was old even in 1980.
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen it.
I'm pretty sure it might be on Tubi TV for free. If not, oh well. But Saturn III is definitely up there. It's a movie that kind of like, I guess like with movies do like Jaws and Empire for you, I saw it as a kid, so I kind of feel like a kid every time I watch Saturn III. And Black Hole, the Disney film, is another one of those. Have you seen the Black Hole?
Black Hole, no. I've seen the Black Cauldron.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, cartoon. The Black Hole, no, I haven't seen that.
Well, that's another one I'd recommend. Disney doing trying to capitalize on the success of Star Wars, but they're doing a very dark, it's very strangely dark themed kind of a movie with a 2001 Space Odyssey-ish kind of abstract ending, which is really interesting. Beautiful music by John Barry.
Right. No, I don't even know if I've heard of it. Is it like a cult classic, or is it more? Should I have heard of it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you should have heard of it, you mother.
Yeah.
I just remember I came over one evening and he was playing the soundtrack, and I was like, "Oh, is this Black Hole?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, it's very distinguished."
Wow. Okay. Who's in it?
Yeah, not a lot of big people. You do have Anthony Perkins though as a guy,
Okay.
but Robert Forster I think is the lead. Ernest Borgnine's in it, and Anthony Perkins, and what's that guy's name? Oh, Maximilian Schell. But yeah, it's a classic from my childhood, Black Hole. I'd say check it out to Will or anyone listening.
All right. Yeah, I will. I will. On Saturn III, I'm intrigued. What about Saturn 1 and 2? Are they good?
Ha ha ha.
I asked him the same question. It's like, is this a triquel or what is it called?
Trilogy.
Do I have to watch the first two? No, it's just Saturn III. It is Saturn III. I was like, oh, okay.
So what if they make a sequel to Saturn III? Would it be Saturn III 2? And then Saturn III 3?
Yeah.
That'd be the trilogy. Well, I like Saturn because it kind of, sorry, I'm speaking kind of loud into Nate's trying to get onto the voice. I do like Saturn III. It kind of wraps itself up. It's one of those cookie cutter movies that starts out, has its issues, and then kind of gives a nice, neat ending.
Okay.
Like very few things left undiscussed.
Oh, yeah, I like that. It's a one and done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
very
that.
Very much one and done.
Cool.
As he's adding into his movie list.
Okay.
But do you have any questions?
Black Hole. What year?
79.
Okay. Yeah, there was a few movies after Star Wars that were kind of like I don't know, like if you want to say capitalize on it, like Last Starfighter and things like that, and Flight of the Navigator and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw something about, just going off on a bit of a tangent. The kid from that is like been in prison loads, like for bank robbery and stuff.
Oh, okay. I wasn't familiar with
Yeah.
that.
Well, yeah, there you go.
I bet you you kind of wish that was you being chased by the police. You're jealous of his.
That's right.
Oh, I wish I was taken on board on a spaceship voiced by whatever his name is. Who did the voice of the spaceship?
Are we thinking 2001?
No, there's a voice on the in the last Flight of the Navigator.
Oh yeah, I'm not familiar with that movie very much.
Okay,
that's a rarity.
Yeah. So what's next?
Next on the list is another Disney movie from the early '80s, Tron. You've probably seen Tron.
Tron. I don't know if I've seen it for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
I'm surprised. The last thing I thought you would pick would be Disney films, and yeah,
Disney has its place.
Well, this is back before. I mean, Disney was really Disney.
This is kind of dark Disney. Tron,
Yeah.
Black Hole.
Yeah, but now you mention it. Now I think about it. Yeah, they did make some. They did take some risks. Back in the day.
Maybe trying to get an adult audience versus just kids. I don't know, but Disney kind of went dark for a couple years.
Well, have you seen Return to Oz?
I think I saw that in the theater.
Yeah, I remember that vaguely. That was scary.
That's a messed up film. Yeah, Tron. That's a good choice. Probably ahead of its time. Yeah, definitely ahead of its time.
Definitely.
Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, you got that right. Once again, another music score that I really like and have on CD as well.
Is there a particular reason why it's made your top? Well,
they're just not in any order.
Yeah, they're not in any order. I guess
how they come to mind.
I was just trying to think of what I grew up watching a lot of and what I still kind of get excited about when I think about them, and those are the movies I put on this list, and I've just seen them so many times, and a lot of them I've gone to sleep with as a kid, not in an intimate way, but fallen asleep with.
I wouldn't say no to Jeff Bridges when I was. Well, let's just leave it at
that. Oh, okay.
Have you seen him in King Kong with that, where he looks like a gorilla himself almost?
Oh yeah, hippie hair. Yep, you got it.
That's an underrated film, King Kong, from the 70s.
That is very underrated.
76, yeah.
Yeah. That used to scare the absolute shit out of me when.
Ooh.
I know. Sorry. An English.
No, you're fine.
Englishman swearing. Yeah, that really frightened me.
Yeah, King Kong has its mark on the world.
So Tron, have you got any more to add about Tron?
Not necessarily, just super duper ahead of its time. Some of the first computer generated effects back when it was used correctly to actually, basically computer generated effects to play as computer generated effects, not trying to be a real world, dinosaur or anything real world, but computer effects trying to look like computer effects. Great music and just a staple from my childhood.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, it's one I remember being a kid, hearing a lot of people talk about it. I remember that more than the actual film itself. If that makes sense. I just remember Tron, and there was a film called Krull. I think I got them mixed up.
Tron and Crow.
Krull. I think it was called Krull.
Oh, Krull or something.
Yeah. I think I got them two mixed up. So what's next?
Next on the list, in no particular order, I've got Meatballs, the Bill Murray's first film, Summer Camp Hijinks, 79.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, that was quite a sweet movie. It was a lot more good-hearted than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a bit more like a bit more of a sex romp kind of thing, but it was more like, I don't know. I'm thinking the right film is where Bill Murray kind of takes that shy kid under his wing a bit, and
yeah, you got it. Yep.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. It wasn't as funny as I thought it was going to be, but I liked its warmth. I'm sorry.
If you could have seen Nate's face when you said that.
I know. I feel like my face is on the dartboard right now, and
nah,
it's in the turlet.
Oh,
yeah,
it's in the loo.
It's in the loo. Yeah. You ever say that? I'm nipping to the loo.
Nah, we live in America.
Yeah,
it's the toilet.
The toilet. Or the bathroom.
Yeah, it's the bathroom.
The bathroom.
Or the restroom. I thought the restroom was a stupid thing to call a bathroom. Like, where's the bed?
Yeah, I always used to think that, actually. Yeah. So there you go.
And then moving on, Friday the 13th, basically, I mean, the first 7 films, I mean,
it's pretty much Nate's life.
Meatballs with Jason.
Yeah. Meatballs with Jason.
Yes. And because of being with Nate for so long, Friday the 13th does have a place in my heart.
Oh, yeah.
Like Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. And I knew it was coming.
Of course you did.
And I'll tell you, I'm going to say I think could be, along with Exorcist 3, the greatest jump scare of all time.
Ooh, which one?
When what's it? Crazy Ralph turns up and he goes, "It's got a death curse, you know." No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm talking about when Jason jumps out the water at the end.
Oh! As a kid, the dream where he comes out of the water and gets her out of the canoe.
That is an ultimate jump scare because you don't really expect it.
No, because it plays this sweet kind of peaceful,
sweet music,
melodic music, and yeah.
But I think that was the opening to the rest of the Friday the 13th. So that was a really good way of bringing that into queue.
So, can I ask a question? Do you think it should have been a one and done, or are you happy it became the Jason vehicle that it became with all the sequels?
Nah, oh, you're asking Beth?
No, both of you.
Beth can go first.
I'm glad that they extended the Friday the 13th movies, but they kind of took it too far.
Oh yeah, well, like everything.
Yeah.
What about you?
What's the one that we like best, where it's like the end with the golden machete, or it was supposed to be the end?
It's actually not golden. I just missaw it. Final chapter.
Yeah, I think they should have stopped it there.
I agree.
I'm
called the final chapter.
I like the first 7, so I'm fine with the first 7.
Okay, that's fair. Fair. It's kind of like your quintessential kind of slasher in the woods, really. You know, if you're saying, you know, if someone wanted to get to horror, what would you give them? Friday.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of your.
It's kind of like your Jaws for slasher movies.
That and maybe Halloween. I'm going to say something that's going to rub Nate the wrong way. I'm more of a Halloween head than Friday the 13th, but I do like Friday the 13th as well.
All right, I won't hang up.
Michael Myers has his place.
Would you say Halloween's a better movie than Friday the 13th, like on a critical thing, or?
No, I like the first Friday the 13th more. I think Friday the 13th, in my opinion, does better what Halloween tried to do. I can't.
Okay.
There's all kinds of technical problems about Halloween that I can't look past, like Carpenter's smoke drifting into the shot and cigarette smoke.
Yeah. Okay, no,
it's
that's
not
fair.
very odd to me. It's too green.
Right. I mean, it's also it's the leaves are completely not realistic for the location and the time of year.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can kind of pick apart Halloween. Sorry.
I think just Halloween got there first for me, and I don't know why. I just find it a little bit more. Go on.
Was that like your first horror movie that you grew up
No,
watching?
no. I just mean I did see it before Friday the 13th, but it was made before Friday the 13th, and just kind of. I find it slightly more suspenseful for me, but I can't really argue with someone who loves Friday the 13th more. What can I say?
They have their highs and lows for individualities.
Yeah.
Like each movie
Peacekeeper.
has. I am being a peacekeeper, but I'm also speaking truth. Like every movie kind of has its own clique, its own niche, and I think Halloween found it. But I'm sorry, comparing Halloween to Friday the 13th, Friday the 13th wins.
For Beth.
That's fair.
Sorry.
That's fair. I mean,
Now put
Halloween,
Nightmare on Elm Street in there, and Nightmare on Elm Street wins.
Ooh. Nate, where do you stand on that?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever really thought about putting all three of them against each other. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Halloween's suburbia, and Friday the 13th's in the woods, in nature, and Friday and Nightmare on Elm Street's in dreams. So they're all different.
See, they all win.
Yeah. Yeah.
But moving on.
The next one on the list, in no particular order, is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Well, I can't argue with that. Stanley Kubrick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still one of the greatest cinematic technical achievements ever.
Yeah. The ending just blows my mind. I had to watch it a couple times to understand it.
Yeah, where Charlton Heston discovers the Statue of Liberty. Amazing. I'm joking.
He's making a joke.
No, that was Planet of the Apes. Oh, that could have been an honourable mention, actually. Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
okay.
Give that an honourable mention.
Yeah. Is that on a personal level, that film, or is it more kind of where it stands in cinema history, 2001, like how innovative it is and stuff?
Probably both, because I saw it really young, so it's got that that youth that goes with watching it. Every time I watch it, I feel like the kid, but also just because of the impact, just because of the greatness that it is on its own.
Yeah. Is it your favorite? I mean, it's kind of like silly to say, is it your favorite this and is it favorite that, but is it the top Kubrick movie?
No, probably not.
It's like,
well, he's made so many.
Like Variety's The Spice Life. It's kind of like, is this better than that? Blah blah blah. Everything's different, so it's kind of, yeah. It's just for fun. We're really kind of comparing movies in a way, but yeah. Probably wouldn't have been Star Wars without 2001.
Yeah.
Probably. That did open up a lot of doors.
Yep.
I'm gonna cut out. I'm getting a little
Beth's
on the sleepy side.
Getting a bit fatigued. That's all right.
Head out. She's getting fatigued.
That's all right.
It's great talking with you, Will.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
On the next Nate and Beth show.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't know when the next Nate and Beth show is going to be, though. We'll figure that out.
I've had an idea for the next one, though. It should be top worst movies for us. There we go.
Oh, that's easier, actually. I can say that one right now.
Go on.
Doom Asylum.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that.
It used to be on Tubi. Maybe it still is.
Oh, okay.
Good night. Enjoy
Good
your
night.
conversation.
Good night. Yeah. Did you want to press on a bit longer, Nate?
Well, yeah. I mean, I got more on the list, so
yeah.
Fair is fair.
Yep.
Next on the list, in no particular order, is Amadeus.
Amadeus. I've never seen it.
Holy crap! That's the one about Mozart.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I know.
Obviously, goes without saying. Yeah, I was introduced as a kid at a young age, not long after it came out. Actually, and that movie introduced me to classical music, and
wow,
and I've loved it ever since.
Yeah. Is there is it personal connection to it? Is it just when you saw it as a kid, or a bit like 2001?
Yeah, probably like 2001. I just really just identified or just attached to it, or whatever the hell you want to say. It was my kind of movie.
It's one of those films, a bit like Casablanca, or with these titles. I know they're kind of considered great movies, and I just haven't seen them yet. So I will, like Lawrence of Arabia and stuff. I just haven't got around to seeing them yet. So, but I will.
Very cool. Then we've got Slumber Party Massacre.
Slumber Party Massacre. Yeah, I like that one. Yeah. Yeah, I like that one. Is that the one with there's no, the killer hasn't got a mask. He's just some creepy guy.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Oh, you know what? Because they actually did a stupid remake, now I have to be sure to indicate the original from whenever it was, early 80s, 82 or something. Yeah, I got to be sure to say that now, so people don't think I mean the new one. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a remake.
Yeah, I'd steer clear from it if I
Really?
were you or anyone listening.
I remember watching it thinking, this is a good little slasher. It's like everything you'd kind of want from that kind of genre. And I liked that he didn't have a mask. I thought it was creepy. I thought it was very creepy. Didn't he have a strange grin on his face, I think, as well?
Yeah, he'd have some strange grins on his blood-covered face.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was... I can't remember too much about it, but I remember liking it. It got a thumbs up from me, so...
well, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Did you see that later in life, or when it came out? Or
I saw that when I was 13. Back at the time, there was only the first two of them, and I rented. I'm pretty sure this mom and pop video store I rented from, I was able to, like, I think a certain day of the week or something, you could get two for the price of one. So I rented the first two, and definitely loved the first one.
Yeah, no arguments with that one. That's a good shout. Yeah. I'm going to... reminded me, I want to watch it again, actually. It's
you want to watch Slumber Party again?
Yeah, it's just been a while since I've seen it. I think I've only seen it once. There was a phase where I was wanting to just catch up on all these slashes, because there was like the big ones, like, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Child's Play. And then I wanted to get into like more of the B section of them, which is more like Sleepaway Camp and Slumber Party and The Prowler and all that kind of, you know what I mean? There's slightly lesser known ones, but still popular, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So there was just a point where I was being quite obsessive compulsive about it, like Final Exam, Slumber Party. Right, I've seen that, tick that one off. I don't know what it was. I'm just kind of like, I want to get through them, just to like indulge in this history knowledge, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out again.
And then next on the list, and I have to be careful now that there's a made for, I guess, Tubi remake of it, Terror Train, the original from 1980. Now there's a stupid made-for-tubetv.com remake, which I tried watching just for the shits of it, and I couldn't get through the first 5 or 10 minutes. Forget it. But the original Terror Train from 1980 is amazing, or to me.
Yeah, I've seen it, and I liked Jamie Lee Curtis. She was on a bit of a roll there, wasn't she, with Prom Night, Halloween, and The Fog.
You got that right.
Yeah, it's got David Copperfield in it, randomly.
As the magician, imagine that.
Yeah, that was another one I liked. And I didn't figure out. It's a bit of kind of a who done it, really, in a way. Bit like Scream, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, but something that was really unique for the time, and even still really, is that it was the rare case where the killer actually changed the disguises throughout the course of the movie.
Yeah. I seem to remember him dressed as a conductor with a funny nose at one point or something like that.
Yeah, that's more like the cover art, but yeah. There's one kind of Groucho Marx mask he wears, and there's a couple of masks with funny noses. So
yeah, that's a good one. Again, I'm gonna watch it again. I find as I'm getting older, as I'm seeing much more films, my memory isn't as good on them. It's like ones I remember from my childhood. So, but I remember if I liked it or not, and I liked that one. So that's a good choice. And I remember there was like I had the quintessential opening, like a bit of an incident where something went wrong. Were they playing a prank or something, or
yeah, the basis for the rest of the movie's existence.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything more to add on that one?
Nah, Terror Train, I've got a review out there. Once again, plugging other stuff on the channel. I've got a review out there if anyone wants to hear more of my thoughts on Terror Train. Definitely recommended by me. And next on the list is the original Nightmare on Elm Street, which along with Texas Chainsaw Massacre is some of the first horror movies that I saw and Halloween as a young kid, going from the age 11 into 12. And the first couple of Elm Street movies, 1 and 2, I really like because they're the first that I saw and recorded off of TV and watched over and over back in those times. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of Nightmare 1. It's grown on me a lot, actually, over the years. I always thought it was good, but I think I told you I watched it. I got a home projector screen and I watched it, and I don't know why this time it really hit me. I don't know what it was. Maybe I just saw it in more detail, I guess. And I do like the suburbia look to it. It's got a good look about it. And yeah, it's a brilliant concept, which is you can do endless things with it in a dream world.
yeah, provided you've got the budget to pull it off.
Well, that's true. And I don't think the first one was made on a massive budget. Am I right?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
And I'll say I think one of the best horror scenes ever is when in the first Nightmare on Elm Street is when she's getting dragged along the ceiling, and yeah, I think they did that with a spinning room effect or something. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and they kind of did it again. Actually, no, Poltergeist did something a bit like that as well, actually, but not to that extent.
Yeah, I can't remember how they. I think for Poltergeist they just turned it on the room on the side, maybe to have stuff fall out of the closet. I can't remember. I'm not as familiar with Poltergeist.
Yeah. And Johnny Depp's first film.
Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah. It's a classic. John Saxon, of course.
You got that right.
Yeah. I think that holds up really well, and I remember seeing pictures of Freddy Krueger in a book I had, a film book, which I've mentioned before, and just being terrified just by the look of him before I even knew what film he was from, you know?
Yeah, that's my recollection too, you know. Friends or this and that would have posters on the wall before I was old enough to
Yeah.
see it, and I was like, God dang, that's really scary.
Yeah. I think in the first one he's much more of a, later on obviously he becomes comedic and almost like an anti-hero, but when this is probably the most sinister and also the most like ambient. He's kind of there but not there, if that makes sense.
I'd say that makes sense. The next movie on the list is a lesser known film, pretty much completely unknown film. I can't remember if you've seen it or not. I think I may have suggested it to you, from the early 80s, by the name of The Forest.
I think I have seen that, yeah. I seem to remember something like two married couples and something in a cave or something.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember all that much. Like I say, there was just a spell when I was just catching up on films I hadn't seen, like that and From Dusk Till Dawn, and yeah. Is it the woodland setting that gives it a favorite spot for you, or?
Yeah, I also like the goofy guy, the killer guy in the cave. He's goofy and
Yeah.
fun and funny and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you know, those elements, along with just the fun, low budget early 80s music and stuff, it all works for me. The Forest. Actually, this year marks the 30th anniversary of that movie being a part of my life. So I discovered it 30 years ago.
1993.
Yep.
Wow. How did you like acquire films like that? Because I imagine even when they came out, they were quite obscure.
Yeah, this was a case 93 where I just found a previously viewed video VHS cassette at a video store and just bought it.
Yeah. I do like, though, from like 1978 till like, what would you say, 1985, there's like a flood of slasher films, and it's kind of endless. And I like that.
Yeah, I got to agree with that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm going to watch that again when I get a chance. A lot of these movies seem to be available on YouTube, or they were. I don't know if they still are.
Yeah, I would imagine The Forest probably is. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty, I don't think there's a lot of people out there trying to, you know, keep it out of people's, you know, trying to defend the copyright of The Forest. I think they'd just be thrilled that people are watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, uh, was there ever a sequel, or was it just?
No, never a sequel, just The
Yeah.
Forest.
And would that have got like a theatrical run, or I don't know? I just kind of like, I'm always interested in this kind of stuff, like in history, where I don't know, would it was.
I imagine something like that would have had a very limited, maybe to just like somewhere in California theatrical run, nothing
Right.
that's going to be like nationwide.
Yeah. I suppose that's what's interesting about Friday the 13th, because that could have been one of those, but it kind of got a more of a global release, I guess.
Yeah, I guess from what they say, independent movie that was picked up by Paramount and given the, you know, the A movie treatment.
Yeah. So what's next?
On the list in no particular order is Commando.
Commando. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
frickin' a buddy of mine when we were kids introduced me to Commando at probably a little too young of an age, but I
Yeah.
really am indebted to him because I mean now I can watch it and watch it as a little kid every time I
Yeah.
watch it. So very indebted to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. It's not one of my favorite Schwarzeneggers personally. maybe if I saw it at an earlier age, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's almost like a video game of action. Just like,
oh yeah, it is like a video game.
yeah. I kind of like. I've got to be honest. I was kind of lose interest when he jumps out of the plane. I don't know why. I just kind of like lose all. I don't know. It just seems really silly, but it's still a lot of fun.
Well, nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah.
it is silly. That's why I love it.
Yeah. I do really like the opening 15 minutes when she first gets kidnapped. I find all that
Yeah.
really quite exciting and well done.
Yeah, you got that right.
I like all that stuff. Little cameo from Bill Paxton as well, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the name of the daughter, the actress?
Oh, Alyssa Milano.
Yeah, she was from Who's the Boss?
Oh, okay.
Is that right? I think
I never watched that show.
Sitcom, yeah.
I never watched that one.
Yeah. Yeah, have you got anything more to add on Commando?
Nah, just slam bang, super violence, action, goofy, campy, steroid induced fun from the 80s that
Do you think it knows what it is, or do you think it's kind of like unintentionally
nah, I'd say it knows what it is.
Yeah. That's cool. That's always one of the things I've really liked. Sorry, I'm just wandering through to the other room because I need to put my phone on charge. I've always liked Schwarzenegger for that because he's always like had a bit of a self-awareness. He's never took himself too seriously.
Yeah, for me, that's like the quintessential Schwarzenegger movie.
Absolutely, yeah. And well, above Terminator.
I mean, I probably. I mean, it's cool to see him as a bad guy, but I guess as the good guy,
Yeah.
I guess for me as Schwarzenegger as a good guy, it's the quintessential good guy Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah. It's kind of like if someone says, "All right, I want to see a quintessential '80s action macho film," Commando's kind of like the one.
You got that right.
Yeah. Anything else to add on Commando?
Nah, I think that'll do it for Commando, but Commando made me think of another movie that I'm indebted to my childhood buddy showing me when we were kids, American Ninja.
I've never seen it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's something I'd recommend if anyone's interested in ninja movies from the 80s.
American Ninja, no, never seen it.
It started my ninja craze of my childhood.
I remember Three Ninjas. Can you remember that?
Though the kids movie, yeah, I never saw that.
Yeah. I remember it as a kid, probably liked it, but he probably doesn't. I haven't seen it since probably the mid 90s, so I don't know if it holds up or not. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't think I need to say too much about American Ninja. It just started my ninja craze, and that's all you got to know. Sleepaway Camp is the next one on the list. Something that I didn't really like when I first saw it as a kid, but as I got older, it grew on me. It's just got that really great early 80s low budget horror movie feel and summer camp location. What more could you want?
Absolutely. And I would say this, you could never make that film today.
Oh, God.
With the famous ending.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a bit... do you know what? I think your channel ruined that for me because I watched yours and Matt's review, and I think you talked about the twist at the end. So I did go and watch it, but I already knew Angela was a, you know.
Don't ruin it.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, I'm sorry we ruined it.
Yeah. Just a lot of those movies, these kind of woodland slashers, they're just so much fun, and I like that. I can imagine on set they were a lot of fun to make. Just friends kind of making a movie.
You got that right.
Yeah.
The
What's your
next one,
opinion? Oh, sorry. I've just
no, go
quickly
ahead. What were you gonna say?
Sleepaway Camp 2.
Oh
Any
yeah,
thought?
I have a special place in my heart for the two goofball sequels as well. I'm more fond of the third one than the second, but they don't hold a can. It's a completely different beast
Yeah.
compared to the first movie. But for what they are, I have fun with the two sequels, and
Yeah.
I don't know. The fourth one is almost unwatchable.
I haven't seen that. I've only seen the first two, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, what's next?
The next one, you sound like you're getting tired. My
No, no,
list
no,
must
no,
be
no. Oh, no,
my
no,
list is it's dwindling. It's getting less long.
no.
I think you've seen this and you might like it. Tourist Trap.
Oh, yeah. I do like it. Yeah.
Talk about just dripping atmosphere and
Yeah.
70s charm, and the music is amazing.
Yeah. I really liked it, actually. Um, and again, I think I saw it because of your channel. I don't think I'd even heard of it. I think I got confused with The Parent Trap. I was like, Tourist Trap?
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I really liked it. I pleasantly surprised by this one, and it was kind of when I first started watching it, it kind of felt like just another slasher, but towards the end, yeah, a really inventive film actually.
Yeah, it holds a special place in my heart, having discovered it at the age of 14. Once again, kind of feel like a teenager every time I watch it.
Yeah, underrated as well.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Very
I think their
underrated.
big mistake was to not have anything that was, that warranted an R rating. I think their big mistake is that they released it PG, and I think that kind of put a lot of people off to not see it.
Yeah, but I was shocked by that because I that didn't cross my mind. I don't think when I watched it, I knew it was PG. I just assumed it was an R rating or an 18 movie. So I didn't notice it was. I don't think it had been diluted. I just think they put a PG thing on it. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely underrated in my opinion. The next on the list is Rear Window, probably one of my favorite Hitchcock movies.
Oh, with James Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always remember watching the Simpsons episode, which parodied it. I don't know if you've seen it,
No, I can't say as I have.
but that's kind of what got my interest to watch it. Um, when Bart sees Flanders through his telescope, and when you're a kid, you don't realize it's a parody of things, but then you find out later on. So yeah, I need to get more into Alfred Hitchcock films. Kind of something that's passed me by. I mean, the only one I've seen Psycho and The Birds. I need to watch more.
Oh wow, yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah,
great ones. There's a lot
yeah,
of great ones.
yeah. Uh, I like Jimmy Stewart films. Like, yeah, yeah, he's kind of a one of a kind. I like his. Well, there's someone looking at me across the window. I like all that.
Yeah,
uh,
pretty good Jimmy Stewart there.
yeah. Uh, I guess this is kind of a bit ahead of its time, kind of more of a situation kind of film rather than it's kind of like one location and being inventive with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they had to build that whole apartment complex stuff in a studio, and
Yeah.
from what I understand, there wasn't the studio wasn't high enough for the 3 floors they needed for the apartment, so they actually had to dig a hole for the first floor.
Right. Wow. What is it? 50s or 1950s?
Yeah, that's 50s something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch. I think I've got it somewhere actually on DVD. I'll have to watch that again. Is he in a wheelchair or something?
Yeah, James Stewart's in a
Yeah.
wheelchair from an accident.
Yeah. Yeah. Classic stuff.
Yep, and then one of my favorite Orson Welles movies, Touch of Evil.
Never seen it.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm starting to feel a bit embarrassed.
We'll let it slide.
Yeah. Is this one he directed as well?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, wrote and directed and starring in. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess he's kind of like the pioneer of that, isn't he?
Yeah, kind of in a way, I think, if you really think about it. I suppose you could kind of say that.
Because everyone talks about Citizen Kane, which I've never seen, which I'm ashamed to say. Is this more up your alley than Citizen Kane, or?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion Citizen Kane's a wee bit overrated, and I definitely enjoy this one more than Citizen Kane.
Yeah. I don't even know what this one's about.
Well, to make up for spoiling Sleepaway Camp, I won't spoil this one.
Okay, then. You can't give me a basic plot synopsis?
It's the Mexican American border, and I can't even really flush it out. It's confusing. There's like a bombing, and they're trying to figure out who did the bombing. Yeah, I don't even know if I can describe what it's really about. It's almost about nothing in a strange way, but it's completely and totally interesting from the beginning to the end. I guess it's trying to figure out who did who's the perpetrator of, I don't even know what. It's like a crime mystery thing, I guess. Film noir.
Yeah.
U.S. Mexico border, and you've got pre-psycho Janet Leigh in there, and Charlton Heston famously playing a Mexican.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna have to check it out. I need to delve. You're much more like educated on pre. What year is this? Is it the 40s, 50s?
That would have been like maybe 59 or
Okay.
something.
I must admit, not to sound ignorant, but like pre 1965, I'm a little bit ignorant. And
No, well, nothing wrong with that.
no, it's just kind of what I've grown up with, and this is the odd one. I mean, like I said, Bridge on the River Kwai, which was the 50s, but obviously like Great Escape and things like that, westerns. But I've not really delved into the, what would you call the film noir stuff from the earlier than that.
Well, the next one that I think is really great and one of the scariest movies to me ever. Do you know this one? It's one of the movies that scared me the most. Do you know this title?
Go on.
You don't know one of the movies that scared me the most?
Oh, right. From watching your channel, I see. Okay, right.
It's no problem if you don't. I thought
No,
this
no,
may
no.
be.
I like this. Can you give me a clue?
Well, I guess I don't know. Let's see here. Without that was too much of a clue. Well, I guess I can simply say a hotel.
Oh, The Shining.
There you go.
Oh, awesome.
I was gonna say Jack Nicholson, but that was a little
Well,
too much of a clue.
could have been a Little Shop of Horrors.
That's true, or yeah, anything else he's done.
Mm.
But Shining, I
Oh
first
man,
saw when I was 12, and yeah, that movie still gets me.
it's a fantastic film, and I kind of like kicking myself why was it not on my honorable mentions, or if I'd have thought about it even more, it could have even made my top 10. So,
Well, there's no redoing it.
oh yeah, fantastic. Talk about a film that's just atmosphere. I mean, oozing with atmosphere, and yeah, it's a fantastic film. Oddly enough, Stephen King is not a fan of it.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, but oh well.
What does he know?
What's he know exactly?
Yeah. Have you got a favorite scene from that film?
God, I mean, Kubrick movies are mostly great for me from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't think I got a favorite. What about you?
Usually when I think about it, I think of Danny riding around on his tricycle and the sound of him going over the carpet and then to the floor and then carpet. It's always
Oh
cool.
yeah, there you go.
And running through the maze, and so quotable, and it's been parodied again. There's two introductions I had to The Shining. Was the Simpsons parody of it. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No.
Which was hilarious. So I knew all the beats of it before I saw it, you know what I mean? And obviously here's Johnny, so quotable. Actually, my first memory of it is watching Twister, and Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt are watching it on the drive-through. Do you remember that at the drive-in?
Oh, the drive-in, yeah.
And I always was freaked out just by seeing that, because it stops dead at the two girls, the two twins, and that terrified me, even just from seeing it on Twister. So yeah, it actually probably scared me more when I saw it in Twister, because I was younger and I saw it years later, and I was obviously expecting it, and you know. But yeah, it's a 10 out of 10. There's not really anything I could say against The Shining. I mean, if there's lots of like theories what the hell even the film means at the end when you see Jack Nicholson and that picture at the end. Do you have any theories on that, or?
No, not really. I try not to, I guess, overanalyze too much.
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of cool that, I guess if you want to think about it, it can be like, he was kind of like that one Butler guy said, you've always been
Yeah.
here. So it's like
Yeah.
he's just maybe trapped there living a time loop.
Yeah. I do like that. And I kind of always like the give me the bat, Wendy. Give me the bat. I always like that bit.
Oh my God.
Because I like it at the end where he's kind of like starts to get a bit irritated. It's like, give me the bat, Wendy. That was funny. And yeah, it's great.
You got that right. And
Yeah.
the whole reason my dad showed me The Shining when I was 12 is because that summer Jack Nicholson was in another famous movie by the name of Batman.
Oh, right. Is that in your top as well?
Yeah, that's a movie I have on my favorites list. That the original from '89 is one I hold in high regard and very sentimental.
Yeah, absolutely. I think anyone grew up through the 90s, as I did, but not in the same way you did, because you were a teenager, but I was just young. But I remember seeing it in the 90s. And yeah, I think it holds a place for me as well. It's not one of my favorites, but I've got a lot of nostalgia for it.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things where it's like lightning in a bottle and just things came together and just
Yeah.
the music and just,
Mm.
Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, Kim Basinger is just beyond hot in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember watching that actually when I went to when I visited America. I watched it on the plane because they had it on. I watched that and Aliens.
That
That was a good time.
was a good flight.
It was. Absolutely. Do you feel the same way about Batman Returns?
I actually just watched Batman Returns recently, and I don't really no, it's like the opposite. Like ever since I saw it in the theater in '92, it really rubs me the wrong way. I think the penguin is completely disgusting and
Yeah.
annoying.
it's an odd film. I think it's an interesting. I think it's visually very good.
Yeah, I'll agree to that, but I just think there's he's trying to deal with too many bad guys, and the Penguin's just nasty.
Yeah, I think that film's bonkers actually.
It is.
And I think it's because they said to Tim Burton didn't even want to come back to make the sequel, and I think they were begging him, and they offered him what he wanted, and he said, "Well, you can do whatever you want with it." So I think he went full Burton.
Oh God.
A bit like Gremlins 2 with Joe Dante, similar kind of thing. But I really like Gremlins 2, so. And I do actually really like Batman Returns, but I completely know what you're talking about. That was always disturbing to me when he bites his nose, the Penguin. So
yeah, there's something about Batman Returns that never did much for me. I mean, I like the Batman scenes, but I mean, whenever they seldom happen. I mean, I
yeah,
guess Catwoman's okay, but the Penguin just ruins it for me.
yeah, fair enough. No, I hear what you're saying.
And then I don't know if you've ever seen this one, probably not, from the 80s. Carl Reiner, Steve Martin comedy, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. I think it's completely underrated movie that just way ahead of its time, probably because not a lot of people probably cared about 40s movies in the early 80s, but it's basically a genius idea where the movie shot, it's a comedy shot in black and white, and it takes place in the 40s. And what they do is they write the whole movie around a bunch of old classic movies. So you've got Steve Martin interacting with old actors from old 40s movies,
Wow.
and just through ingenious writing and photography and trying to match certain costumes and locations, they're able to have a movie that shows Steve Martin talking on the phone with Humphrey Bogart and so on and so forth. So
Cool.
absolutely completely underrated movie that I would highly recommend anyone to see, especially if anyone likes 40 film noir kind of gangster movies from the 40s.
What's it called again?
It's called Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. It's like a comedy, obviously, with Steve Martin, and Carl Reiner directed it. And wow, it's just very well done, and it's a movie comedy that takes place in the 40s. It plays like a film noir crime movie of the 40s in a Steve Martin comedy way, black and white. You've actually got the woman who did a lot of the costumes for actual 40s movies do the costumes
Oh,
for
cool.
this movie, Edith Head, and the guy who did the music actually did the music for movies, a lot of these famous movies in the 40s. So it's just really great.
Yeah.
And the reason it probably is relatively unknown is because most people probably don't care about movies from the 40s, but I'm one that really likes that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, so I really appreciate it, but
Oddly,
can't.
it sounds like a pastiche, but it kind of in a weird way sounds a bit ahead of its time, because I feel like if it came out more like, I don't know, in the 2000s, something like The Artist, I think it'd like win loads of Oscars or something.
Yeah, I think that's the case too, very much with Tron. I think it did come out way ahead of its time, and absolutely, God, absolutely genius the way they write the movie around all of these scenes from these old movies and how they
Yeah.
fit them into the movie. It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Forrest Gump borrowed a little bit from that in a way, kind of, using old footage and putting Forrest Gump into these situations and stuff. I don't know. I haven't seen this film that you're talking about, but is it a bit like that kind of thing?
Well, not using visual effects, but yeah, I guess it's the same basic thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll check it out. I've not even heard of it.
Check it out now.
Okay.
I've only got three more here. Another one is another Steve Martin, Carl Reiner working together by the name of The Jerk. I'm sure you've heard of The Jerk.
Well, do you know what's weird now? I've just looked up at my collection of DVDs and I'm on J and I'm just like directly looking at The Jerk.
Holy shit.
I'm not even kidding.
Wow.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, The Jerk. That would be one of his first movies, I think.
I think it is his first movie.
Is it? It's his first movie, yeah.
I think so. Steve Martin, yeah.
I remember him like dancing at the start and why have I got no rhythm kind of thing and all that.
Yep. There's some racial undertones. I don't know if they'd go over too well these days, but
well,
the
you
good
see,
old days.
we had a sense of humor back then and understood
Yeah.
kind of irony and context, but that seems to have gone out the window now. But yeah,
You got that right. The Jerk is another one I grew up with. I first saw the edited for TV version. I taped it off of TV, so I wouldn't even actually see the real rated R version for several years after, and that was kind of fun, because you see that TV version for the first time, and for so many years watching that and seeing the R-rated version is like a extended cut.
Yeah, it's funny that. Yeah, I've had that experience with certain films actually. Grew up watching the cut down TV version sometimes, like they play in the day. Yeah, I've had that. It's probably the would you say it's the edgiest thing Steve Martin's ever done in a way?
Probably, yeah, that I've seen. I mean, I haven't seen everything he's done, but yeah, I mean, I think it'd probably offend a lot of people these days.
Yeah, my first memory of Steve Martin was Roxanne. I used to watch that with my dad.
Oh, geez, I could even add this. I could even add that to the list. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that. I saw that in the theater and
yeah,
watched that over and over when it was
yeah,
brand new on home video. I love that.
yeah. I haven't seen that for years. I'll have to watch that again.
Watch it.
I will. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to watch The Jerk again because I'm looking right at it. It's right next to Jaws alphabetically. And that Jaws, he was a jerk. Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, almost to the end here. Second from the last in no particular order. And, obviously there's more movies that I haven't thought of, but from what I put together for today's discussion, the Stanley Kubrick film Barry Lyndon. Have you seen it? It's a period movie that takes place back in the who knows whatever kind of days where they have, whatever's going on, candlelight and the wigs and all that kind of stuff. But it was a movie that I was actually really bored of the first time I tried to watch it when I was maybe 19. I just turned it off after not very long into it, but you got to just let it do its thing, and maybe it starts off a little. Well, the whole thing's pretty slow. You got to have the right kind of temperament to get through Barry Lyndon, but definitely a movie I hold in pretty high regard. Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. I haven't seen that. No, it's not really on my radar. What year is it?
It's like 74 or 5. It's what he
Okay.
did. It's what he did after Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. Because that's not one you hear of. You usually think Kubrick, you think Shining, Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, maybe Doctor
Yeah,
Strange.
I think it's one of his less successful films.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, learning more and more about Stanley Kubrick as I'm getting older. Because I didn't realize until a few years ago, he directed Spartacus, which was a surprise.
That's true.
Yeah. Um, I'll have to check it out. I can't really add anything to that because I've never seen it. And if you've got more to add, go on.
Yeah, obviously being a fan of classical music, it's got a lot of classical music, and Kubrick being the photographer at heart, actually developed came up with some lenses to be able to actually photograph scenes by candlelight. So that's very cool.
I'll check it out. I haven't seen Doctor Strangelove yet either.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I'd really have that on my favorite movies list anymore, but I used to love it as as a teenager and early,
Yeah.
in a 20 something. But I mean, it's, I like Doctor Strangelove. That's
Yeah.
like the last kind of goofball comedy movie he made before he got serious. But,
Mm.
Peter Sellers is great in his three roles.
Yeah. Can I just add something about Stanley Kubrick? It's kind of a weird connection, but have you seen the Robin Williams film? I don't know if it's underrated or not, and it's because I haven't seen it for years, but it always sticks out in my head as being weird as Toys with Robin Williams.
Oh yeah, it's been ages since I saw that.
Very weird film. I always thought that looked like the way it was shot looked a bit Kubrick.
Yeah, if memory serves, there was a lot of wide lenses and stuff. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention it because it was in my head the other day. Yeah, to yeah, Kubrick. I mean, arguably, the most. I don't know him and maybe Spielberg, Scorsese. They're probably the top three.
Well, there's definitely, he's definitely up there among some of the greats, that's for sure. And it's funny because now that you mentioned Scorsese, I could add his Cape Fear remake to the list of
Oh yeah,
movies I really like. I think Cape Fear '91 is just amazing from beginning to end, instantly entertaining and really a nail biter.
yeah. And it's different kind of movie for him. Would you say in a way?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more of a kind of not a domestic thriller, but a bit more kind of down that line. A bit more of a simple kind of premise rather than a gangster type mafia movie.
Yeah. You think of Scorsese, you think of Goodfellas
Yeah,
and gangsters and
yeah. It feels a bit more like something. I don't know. It's more of a director for hire kind of movie. That's the best way I can describe that. I don't know.
yeah, kind of might have been, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. Is that Have you seen the original one, Cape
Yeah,
Fear?
I do have that as well. Yeah, I saw that as well. I only saw that once, but yeah, that was interesting to see.
Yeah, with Gregory Peck. It's funny again. My first memory of Cape Fear is the Simpsons episode where it parodies it.
Jesus.
Have you seen that?
Well, I don't see a lot of Simpsons episodes, so I
Yeah,
have not.
yeah. But a lot of these films I watched, and I already knew the ending and stuff because I'd seen the Simpsons parody of it. So yeah, very
And
good.
then the last that I could think of for this discussion, which is something I think you'll agree with, is Steven Spielberg's one of his first, might be his first movie. What's that called?
Duel.
You got it.
Yeah, that's great. I actually watched it not too long back, and I've got, like you said, if I've got one gripe with it, which annoys the hell out of me, it's just the voice monologue bit, which annoys me. But apart from that, I love it.
Yeah, it's another one I grew up with, and I think its simplicity is absolutely amazingly effective.
Yeah, I mean, this is like Spielberg's equivalent to Halloween. I think it's just made on pure efficiency. You know?
That's a good comparison.
Yeah. I mean, like Jaws is kind of like his his breakout, but this is kind of his almost like his what would you call it? Like almost like his learning platform. Like,
Student film.
yeah, yeah, it's great, and I love the. Do you know what I like? Is the opening 5 minutes where there's just a camera on the in front of the car, and you get to see the '70s. You know, and
Oh yeah, seeing all those cars
yeah,
and
because that's not
fashions.
there's like they're not extras and stuff. The people walking around the street. That's just raw footage in a way, isn't it? And I love that. It's a time machine.
Yep, you got it.
Love it. Um, yeah, it's a great film, and thank God I think that's another thing where Spielberg really changed things. Like, I think the studio wanted to film it in like a car in a studio with a fake background. And did you know that?
Yeah, I might have heard that. Yeah.
I mean, how bad would that have been?
Bad.
I saw the documentary about Joel, and he just said it was like the greatest phone call of his life when he got that job. And he said it was so efficient because he could map out what he was going to film on each day from a map of the road, and he draw cameras where they were going to be, and he said it was kind of easy in a way, and I think that just shows his talent, really.
That's for darn sure. Back, that's If that movie had been made in a studio, I mean, I wouldn't think it nearly as much of it as I do. I mean, the whole thing that's great about it is that it's real.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, not to go too much back into Jaws, but similar scenario. They wanted to film it in a pool in a controlled environment. And Spielberg was adamant that we'd go out on the sea and film it for real.
Yeah, there you go.
It's funny how we've come full circle now, and we've gone back to the. Now we'll just fake it with a green screen. But yeah, Jules, a great film. I think it's grown on me actually as I've got older. It's simple. I like the kind of desolate, desert-y kind of roads he's driving through as well. I like all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I could use some desert right about now with this winter.
Yeah.
Minnesota winter that's just not ending.
Do you like Dennis Weaver in it? Do you like his performance?
Oh yeah, he's great, and yeah, I always laugh at him.
I like it because he starts off as kind of like, I like it because he's just a normal guy who looks like he's middle class kind of guy, works in an office, and I like that about it. He's not particularly heroic or anything, and he kind of becomes heroic, but he genuinely looks frightened, which I like.
You got that right. Just everyday business or whatever you want to call it, office man, just fighting for his life on the road.
Yeah, I mean, he's almost like a bit of a stiff, really, in a way. Would you say?
I'd say so. Yeah, a little bit of dominated by his wife.
Yeah, but what I like about it, even in that film, there's the Spielberg signature thing. There's a family who's a bit dysfunctional, and you even see the two kids in the living room for a second. There's still that. Do you know what I mean? There's like a glimpse of what would come later on, really.
Yeah, suburbia even.
Yeah, and yeah, it's funny. Spielberg's best work, I think, is probably Jaws, E.T. His first few movies, really.
Well, what are your thoughts on? I don't know if I hear you really talking about Close Encounters very often.
Yeah, I like it. That's always one that's just kind of slipped me by. I've seen it, but I've got to be honest, I always fall asleep watching it. And I'm not saying it's a bad film, but I don't know. I've always kind of nodded off with that film, really.
Okay, Beth.
Yeah. I love Richard Dreyfuss and everything. Is that one of your top films?
No, I wouldn't call it one of my top films, but something it's one of these movies that I grew up with, but as I got older, I can recognize its craft and stuff, and it's got its place in whatever in my heart, but it's not. Yeah, it kind of faded over the years, but that's okay. I mean, I recognize it as being, good, but
Yeah, certainly iconic with the whole that wasn't a good impression of
yeah, you just massacred it, but yeah.
yeah. again parodied in The Simpsons. So,
oh my God.
It's yeah. Yeah, Jewel, I've got no complaint. I've just said, I just could have done without that voice monologue bit, but whatever.
Yeah, that's understandable. Doesn't bother me, but that's okay.
Yeah. I always liked his squeak at the end when like makes a squeaky noise in Joy because the truck's gone off the edge of the cliff.
Well, he does a couple of squeaks throughout the movie, yeah.
Yeah, he's got like an awkward energy about him.
Well, Dennis Weaver has a bit part in Touch of Evil as well. He's another goofy character in that, if you ever get a chance to see it.
Touch of Evil, right? Yeah, I'll check it out. Is he still alive? Can't be.
Nah, not anymore.
Not anymore, no. Yeah, I mean, you could say really that's Jewel. You don't really hear it mentioned that often, but it's kind of like one of the most important films ever made, really, if you think about it. It's like Spielberg's training ground.
Training Wheels.
Yeah. And then he made Sugarland Express, which I've never seen.
It's funny, I've never seen that either.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. I like Goldie Hawn, so. So would you put Jewel above Jaws?
No, I wouldn't put it above Jaws.
Again, two different films. But yeah, I wish Spielberg would just get back to basics a bit. You know, I'd love to see him just make something like Jewel again or something.
Yeah, the problem is, once they've done it all, I mean, I guess the thought of going back to simplistics is
I guess so.
unthinkable.
Yeah, I just liked his. I don't know. He just seemed hungry back then.
Yeah, that disappears over time with age. Trust me.
I'm always hungry though.
Oh, okay.
But in the literal sense. Yeah. I always had, I've got a friend who's very into Martin Scorsese, and I was always more Spielberg, and I think that's more my personality. I do like some Scorsese films, especially Taxi Driver. If you had to pick one, who would you pick?
If I had to pick between what?
Spielberg and Scorsese. Just for
Oh,
fun.
yeah. Spielberg, yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's just a bit more up my alley, I think. But again, completely different, but they just came around the same time. And I do like that period where there seem to be like these filmmakers all helping each other out, like Spielberg, Brian De Palma, Francis Ford Coppola, George Lucas, Scorsese. They all seem to be buddies and stuff.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
I don't think you really get that these days, really.
Well, yeah, now it's competition.
Well, yeah, and I just think directors are used as puppets. Really, there's not many really who stand on their own. I think Tarantino, maybe Christopher Nolan, who can have control over the studio rather than them being controlled.
That's a good point.
Have you ever noticed, like, you'll get someone who makes an indie movie that does quite well, it's a bit of a sleeper hit, and then their next film is a big blockbuster?
Yeah, that's kind of ironic.
Have you noticed that these days? And I think it's like a tactical thing so they can control the director.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm not too
Go on.
I'm not too familiar with what's being released these days, but I can see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, like Gareth Edwards had only made one film, Monsters, and then he's on to Godzilla next. You know what I mean? A big blockbuster. And I'm like, And I think that's like, they can see he's got a good bit of flair and a visual style, and it's like, but we can control him because, who is he to tell us this is his first big budget film? So I think there's a bit of that.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. So, is there any more you want to mention before we go?
Yeah, my list is everything that I wrote down is kaput. I listed off everything.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be thinking of more like I will. I'm just looking through my DVD collection. I'm just literally staring at my DVD collection now, and I've just saw Ghostbusters. I could put that in somewhere in my top 50, maybe. Oh God, so many. I just saw American Psycho, Airplane. Yeah, loads.
Yeah, this is why I don't even bother with the top 10. I mean,
Yeah, it's been fun to do for me anyway.
well, that was good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was good. That was a good. I think it was a good springboard to chat. Really, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. I wouldn't mind talking my worst movies of all time. That'd be fun.
Yeah, well, we can see what the hell materializes weeks down the road. I am currently really, trying to struggle through this never-ending winter, so I'm not
Yeah,
always in the best moods as of late, but
no problem. Same
we'll
here,
see what.
man. Life happens, doesn't it? Just
Yeah.
absolutely. No, I appreciate you having me on, actually, and I've enjoyed it. I feel like I've hopefully explained myself well, and obviously, I think I chatted better, or we both did when we mutually seen the films.
Well, yeah, that's a given. Yeah, like I can't say anything about your movies that I
Yeah,
haven't seen and vice versa.
yeah. But I am intrigued though, and I've got your channel to thank for a lot of movies actually um, that I wouldn't have seen, like Tourist Trap and Sleepaway Camp. So yeah,
Well,
that's
you're very welcome.
yeah. I see you're back with Matt, original Matt, a bit.
Yeah, a little bit on the phone because it's a little too cold to get in person or get together in person. Yeah, a little bit of reconnecting on the phone, which has
Yeah,
been interesting, and
yeah,
hopefully maybe something in person in the coming
yeah.
months.
That's nice to see. Yeah. Um, I wanted to ask you, in your original videos, did you film that in like a leisure centre or something? Or I remember there's some shots next to a pool and ping pong tables and stuff.
Yeah, well, at the time, that's where Matt was staying, an apartment complex. So
Ah,
it would have been the courtyard of the apartments and or the pool and or the game room.
well, that's cool.
Yeah, those were really, really photogenic locations. Problem is, people could just show up at any time, and if you look at some of the bloopers from those years, they definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's really off-putting. I couldn't do this if I mean, my family's not in the house at the moment, but I couldn't do it if people were wandering around. I'd just be too self-conscious, and yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of a laugh. If anyone listening wants to check out like the bloopers from, just type in HMF bloopers like 2011, 2012, 2013. You'll see people interrupting us in all those locations.
that happens, eh?
Damn it.
Yeah. Did you ever get anyone come up to you and go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, there's one of those in one of the bloopers from maybe 2012 when we're talking Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I imagine that's quite frustrating. I mean, I have that sometimes when I'm recording music and someone will wander through, and yeah, it can be very frustrating.
You got that right.
Sometimes when it would be the perfect take, and then they're just wandering in the last 5 seconds or something.
Yep. You want to get them so you get the cops chasing you.
Yeah, I'm not actually going to do that, but it's just a fantasy. Like a zombie apocalypse. How cool would that be?
Yeah, we pretty much have it already on this
Oh
planet.
yeah, true. Yeah, Yeah, I sometimes think that though, if something did happen, an apocalyptic situation, at least we'd have our priorities right.
You got that right. Movies
Bible.
first.
You what? Sorry.
Movies first, people last.
Yeah. Well, controversially, a film that I kind of respect, and there's certain things I really like about it, but I've never got on with, is Dawn of the Dead. I hope that's not too controversial, but there's just some weird things in that movie. I just think, I don't know. Have you ever been a massive fan?
We're talking about the original?
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself a massive fan, but I had my Dawn of the Dead phase in the late
Yeah.
90s, early 2000s, but I don't really watch it much anymore.
There's just something about it. Just I thought it could have been so much better. It's such a great idea, and just seemed really weird some of the choices they made. But I don't know. I've never gotten on with it all that well. But there you go.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way with Day of the Dead.
Yeah, I thought the effects were better in that one.
Yeah, probably.
And I thought it was shot slightly better. I love the idea of Dawn of the Dead in the shopping mall and zombies coming around, but just I don't know. I just feel like it could have been utilized a bit better. And anyway, there you go.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But
So yeah,
my brain is mush. I got to
yeah, no problem. I think we've covered everything now.
I think we've covered everything.
Yep. All right, Nate. So thanks for having me. And yeah, I enjoyed. This was kind of like the pinnacle episode for me, talking about my favorite movies. So thank you for letting me do that.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you for coming on here to do it.
Yeah, and I'm going to watch Source Free. I think you've got me intrigued. Was it Source Free?
What?
Oh, what was it called? That
What?
Kirk Douglas movie? With
Oh,
a robot?
Saturn 3.
Saturn Free. Source Free. I don't know where that came from. I just got S in my head. Okay. Saturn Free. I'm going to watch it.
All right.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
All right,
Feel
Nate.
free to report back in the comments what you thought of it.
Okay. I will do. All right, Nate. Take care.
You too. We'll talk to you later.
Cheerio. Bye.
Bye.